Chapter 1149. Brat, you're cultivating the immortal heaven technique. How dare you say you have nothing to do with the immortal heaven palace? Gai Tianyuan roared violently as he crazily charged towards Yi Xian. However, his eyes trembled as he looked at Yi Xian with increasingly fearful eyes. The immortal scripture was just a name in the three realms. In the chaotic world, the real name of this cultivation method was the immortal heaven technique. It was one of the 12 most powerful cultivation methods in the chaotic universe. As for the various killing techniques that Yi Xian used, they all originated from the undying heaven art. How could Gai Tianyuan not recognize this technique? Cut the crap. Go to hell. Space-time Nirvana. The space-time tree was swaying and the Nirvana power was rolling. The two supreme powers burst out at the same time and attacked Gai Tianyuan. Using two supreme powers at the same time was extremely taxing for Yi Xian. However, in order to kill Gai Tianyuan, all of this wasn't that important. Infinite Tianyuan. Gai Tianyuan roared in fear and golden light rose around him to protect his body. However, in the face of two supreme powers, his Tianyuan combat body was like paper. Bang! There was a loud explosion and the earth was turned upside down. Gai Tianyuan's body exploded. He could not resist the two supreme powers and turned into a bloody mist. Heavenly Freedom Technique. Rumble. Wisps of black smoke gathered together and Gai Tianyuan appeared again. However, he had lost his body and was only in the form of a remnant soul. Go to hell. Yi Xian smiled sinisterly. He took a step forward and instantly appeared beside Gai Tianyuan. With a single slap, he shattered Gai Tianyuan's soul. You can't kill me. Even the Lord of all spirits could not kill me. How can you, a mere mortal body, kill me? Whoosh! Gai Tianyuan's remnant soul appeared again and roared at Yi Xian. An extremely strange aura circulated around his remnant soul. Yi Xian frowned as he studied Gai Tianyuan. He didn't understand why he couldn't destroy Gai Tianyuan's soul fragment. Boundless heavenly origin, myriad laws coexistence. This is the heavenly origin battle body. Even if I'm only left with a strand of my soul, you can't kill me. Gai Tianyuan sneered. What a pity. The power of Nirvana is the nemesis of the heavenly origin battle body. It could have destroyed my soul. Too bad you've only just mastered it. If you could master the real use of the power of Nirvana, I might have died in your hands today, Gai Tianyuan said in a cold voice. Yi Xian frowned when he heard Gai Tianyuan's words. He knew that Gai Tianyuan wasn't lying. He was indeed extremely unfamiliar with the use of nirvanic energy. He had only figured it out bit by bit, so it naturally posed no threat to an old monster like Gai Tianyuan. So what if I can't kill you? You can't do anything to me either. Yi Xian narrowed his eyes. Ha ha ha. Gai Tianyuan laughed maniacally as if he had heard the funniest joke in the world. He then looked at Yi Xian with a sinister expression and said, Little bastard, do you think that you can fight someone in the creation realm just because you've become a holy king? Let me tell you. You're just daydreaming. I'm only left with a strand of my soul in Holy King Tailing's body. This Holy King Tailing's body is too weak. I can't use the full power of a creation realm cultivator. However, it won't be long before I appear in front of you with a new identity. I'll personally take back the inheritance of the Chaos Star Master. Gai Tianyuan said coldly. His strand of soul became fainter and fainter. Clearly, he was about to escape. Actually, it wasn't that Gai Tianyuan didn't want to kill Yi Xian. It was just that he didn't have the ability to kill Yi Xian right now. Yi Xian's methods were way too sharp. There wouldn't be any results even if he continued to tangle with him. After this battle with Yi Xian, Gai Tianyuan had calmed down. He wanted to leave this place first and find a body that was compatible with his soul. Only then could he use the true power of a creation realm cultivator. By then, he would naturally look for Yi Xian to settle the score. That was the safest way. Little bastard, the next time we meet, I'll let you know how stupid it is to offend me, Gai Tianyuan. Gai Tianyuan said coldly as his strand of soul was about to leave this place. You want to leave? Do you think you can? A strange smile appeared on the corner of Yi Xian's mouth. He shot towards Gai Tianyuan with a loud bang, and an extremely terrifying killing intent exploded out from him. Little bastard, I told you that you can't kill me. I'm Tianyuan, ah. Suddenly, before Gai Tianyuan could finish his words, he let out a shrill cry of pain as a nine-colored lightning struck down on him. Nine-colored heavenly lightning? Ah! Gai Tianyuan cried out in pain as his strand of soul was burned by the nine-colored heavenly lightning. It was as if it was going to shatter at any moment. How is this possible? Ah! Gai Tianyuan dodged the strikes of the nine-colored heavenly lightning painfully. He was in a state of extreme fear. He had never thought that Yi Xian would have such a terrifying thing in his hands. Indeed, I can't kill you. But I wonder if this nine-colored heavenly lightning can kill you as well. Yi Xian laughed cruelly as streaks of nine-colored heavenly lightning shot out from his hands towards Gai Tianyuan. Little bastard, you can't kill me. Gai Tianyuan roared with hatred as he dodged the strikes of the nine-colored heavenly lightning. Can't kill you. Yi Xian smiled viciously. He flipped his hand and a five-colored flame appeared. He said, Five-colored mysterious flame. I wonder if you can withstand it. You. When Yi Xian took out the five-colored mysterious flame, Gai Tianyuan retreated in fear. He looked at Yi Xian with fear in his eyes. Nine-colored heavenly lightning? Five-colored mysterious flame? Could it be that you are going through a variant of the chaotic divine tribulation? Gai Tianyuan seemed to have thought of something terrible. He looked at Yi Xian in horror as a heaviness that he had never felt before pressed down on him. He understood. He completely understood. Gai Tianyuan finally understood why Yi Xian's cultivation was so terrifying even though he only had a mortal body. It was not the power of nirvana or the power of time and space. It turned out that Yi Xian was going through the chaotic divine tribulation, which only happened to the strongest throughout the ages. That was why he was so terrifying in the great saint realm. Impossible. How is this possible? You are just a mortal. How could you attract the strongest chaotic divine tribulation? Could it be that you will be the strongest in the next Yuanhui era? Gai Tianyuan trembled as he shouted. He could not believe what he had guessed. No, absolutely not. You're just a mortal. At most, you can only cultivate to the three realms of creation. Even if you can break the curse of your mortal body and become the strongest of all time in the 11th Yuanhui, I've never heard of anyone who can refine the nine-colored divine lightning and five-colored profound flame for their own use. Gai Tianyuan seemed to have gone crazy. He thought of all kinds of terrible legends and screamed shrilly. Chapter 1150. Nine-colored divine lightning and five-colored mystical fire. They were products of the chaotic universe and extremely powerful heavenly tribulations. If Gai Tianyuan had been at his peak and hadn't been killed by the Lord of all spirits, he wouldn't have cared about the nine-colored divine lightning and five-colored mystical fire at all. Unfortunately, he was only left with a wisp of his soul. He was most afraid of this kind of chaos tribulation because the nine-colored divine lightning and five-colored mystical fire would cause unimaginable damage to his soul. Scared. Very scared. He was terrified to the extreme. Gai Tianyuan was trembling, feeling the fear of death. He could feel the extreme killing intent in Yi Xian's eyes. What do you want? Gai Tianyuan asked in a trembling voice. What do I want? Yi Xian smiled, but his smile was extremely cold. The five-colored mystical fire and the nine-colored divine lightning shot toward Gai Tianyuan. This was Yi Xian's answer. Run. Gai Tianyuan didn't waste any time talking nonsense, nor did he say anything to Yi Xian. He turned and fled. Facing the 5-colored mystical fire and the 9-colored divine lightning, he was completely at risk of being killed. Ah! After all, the 2 heavenly tribulations were products of the chaotic universe and could cause terrible damage to the soul. Although Gai Tianyuan had escaped in time, he was still injured by the 2 heavenly tribulations. I'll take your life. Yi Xian sneered sinisterly. He activated the power of time and space and caught up to Gai Tianyuan in an instant. He struck out with the 9-colored divine lightning, which directly weakened Gai Tianyuan's soul. Bastard, I'll fight you to the death. Gai Tianyuan roared. After being hit by the 9-colored divine lightning and the 5-colored mystical fire, his soul had suffered unimaginable damage. But it had to be said that even though Gai Tianyuan only had a wisp of his soul left, he was still very powerful. Although the 2 heavenly tribulations had caused unimaginable damage to him, they hadn't killed him immediately. It made sense. How could someone who could compete with the Lord of all spirits be killed so easily by Yi Xian? Gai Tianyuan had lived for far too long, and he also had the heavenly origin combat body. Be it cultivation base, secret arts, or forbidden arts, he was proficient in all of them. Just this foundation alone was not something Yi Xian could compare with. Thief, you forced me to do this. Gai Tianyuan fled in shame and anger, enduring the attacks of the 2 heavenly tribulations. A strand of his remnant soul was emitting a terrifying golden light, as if he was about to activate some kind of terrifying forbidden technique. Heaven Origin Disintegration Technique. Boom! Gai Tianyuan's remnant soul exploded and turned into black smoke that shot out in all directions, disappearing from Yi Xian's sight in an instant. Yi Xian's face changed. Although he had no idea what technique Gai Tianyuan had used, Yi Xian could sense that Gai Tianyuan's presence had split into countless strands. He had no idea which one was the real Gai Tianyuan. I can't let him escape, or there'll be trouble, Yi Xian muttered coldly. Gai Tianyuan knew far too many of his secrets. If he leaked these secrets, Yi Xian would definitely attract the attention of everyone. When that happened, there would be countless problems. Boom! Yi Xian had no other choice. He directly used his powers of space-time to get ahead of Gai Tianyuan and stop him at the entrance of the Tianyuan kingdom. It had to be said that the powers of space-time were truly terrifying. Yi Xian took a single step and directly passed through the Tianyuan kingdom. He stared at the exit of the Tianyuan kingdom. Yi Xian was extremely confident that no matter how many strands Gai Tianyuan had split into, he would definitely leave through the exit. After all, Gai Tianyuan did not have the powers of space-time, so he was unable to pass through space like Yi Xian. On the other side, in the Tianyuan kingdom, Gai Tianyuan and Yi Xian were only separated by a door. He could completely see that Yi Xian had blocked the exit. This made his expression turn sinister as he constantly pondered over how to deal with the situation. You despicable, shameless thief. Do you think you can find me just by blocking the exit? Gai Tianyuan muttered coldly as a vicious glint flashed through his eyes. The primal chaos trial has already vanished. It will only appear again in the next Yuanhui. The Tianyuan kingdom is already useless. I'd like to see if you can withstand the self-destruction of the Tianyuan kingdom. Gai Tianyuan was definitely a vicious person. He suddenly raised his hand as he chanted, as if he was activating some terrifying seal. Explode! Rumble! The world shook as mountains and rivers collapsed. Gai Tianyuan had directly activated the Tianyuan kingdom's self-destruction array. He had created this miniature world many years ago, so it was naturally easy for him to make the Tianyuan kingdom self-destruct. And the power produced by the self-destruction of the Tianyuan kingdom would bring about an extremely terrifying calamity to Yi Xian. This was Gai Tianyuan's vicious method. The exit of the outside world. Yi Xian frowned as his heart skipped a beat. He had an extremely bad feeling. Oh no! Yi Xian let out a low roar as he activated the power of space and time. His entire body retreated hundreds of millions of kilometers, and in the next moment, the exit of the heavenly Yuan kingdom exploded. An extremely terrifying power burst out, blowing up all the yellow sand in the outside world, causing the entire world to fall into an extremely turbid illusion. Yi Xian, you little thief, just you wait. Once I find a suitable body, I'll make sure you die a horrible death. Gai Tianyuan's angry roar could be heard in the cloudy sandstorm, and then it quickly dissipated in the sandstorm. You can't escape. Yi Xian roared coldly as he pushed his Saint King cultivation to its limits. He pushed his space-time force madly because Yi Xian could already sense an extremely great threat. If Gai Tianyuan escaped today, it would be a huge problem in the future. This kind of old monster had a deep foundation and would be a great threat if he hid in the dark. Therefore, Yi Xian could not let him escape. Rumble. Yi Xian pushed his space-time force and chased after Gai Tianyuan. However, Gai Tianyuan had expected that Yi Xian would not let him go. He immediately used a secret technique to escape from the Tianyuan kingdom. The great Nanda domain was vast and could not be compared to the small Tianyuan kingdom. Gai Tianyuan's escape was like a fish in the sea. Damn it! Yi Xian ran for hundreds of millions of kilometers and could no longer see any trace of Gai Tianyuan. When he punched out, a vast mountain was blasted into dust, proving how furious Yi Xian was. You can't escape. You can't escape. Yi Xian growled viciously as his murderous intent surged. Go! Yi Xian did not stop at all. He turned into a stream of light and headed toward the holy land of Taichu. Yi Xian believed that Gai Tianyuan had taken over Saint King Tailing's body. Although he had destroyed Saint King Tailing's body and left Gai Tianyuan with a wisp of his soul, Gai Tianyuan would definitely have left something behind in the holy land of Taichu. It had been nearly 1,000,000 years since Yi Xian entered the Tianyuan kingdom. He did not know that a big trouble was approaching him. In the holy land of Taichu. Tell me, is there a secret chamber or forbidden area in the holy land of Taichu? In the Taichu training ground, thousands of Taichu disciples were kneeling on the ground. Yi Xian stood in the center, holding an elder's neck with one hand and questioning him fiercely. Chapter 1151. I don't know, the elder of Taichu answered with a trembling voice. You don't know? Then you can go to hell. Crack. Yi Xian's expression was gloomy. His 5 fingers exploded with a terrifying force as he forcefully broke the other party's neck. He casually plucked off the other party's head and threw it to the ground like trash. Bang! A headless body fell at Yi Xian's feet. A lot of blood sprayed out, making Yi Xian look even more ferocious. All the disciples of the holy land of Taichu were trembling. I'll only give you 3 breaths to tell me where the forbidden area and secret chamber of the holy land of Taichu are. If no one answers my question after 3 breaths, then all of you will die here. Yi Xian looked around at the disciples of the holy land of Taichu coldly. He slowly raised his 5 fingers as if he would kill all of them in the next moment. 1, 2, Senior, we're just ordinary disciples. We really don't know where the forbidden area and secret chamber are. A large number of Taichu disciples cried and begged, but Yi Xian was not moved at all. 3. Yi Xian said coldly. His 5 fingers were already blooming with terrifying light. The next moment, the holy land of Taichu would be buried in his hands. Senior, I know. Please quell your anger for a moment. Suddenly, just as Yi Xian was about to destroy the sect, a little saint crawled to Yi Xian's feet and kept kowtowing to Yi Xian and crying. Who are you? Yi Xian's murderous intent disappeared. He narrowed his eyes and looked down at the person under his feet. I'm He Tian. I was ordered to guard the forbidden area, the little saint hurriedly replied. Good. Yi Xian's eyes lit up, and a satisfied smile appeared on his face. But in the next moment, he stretched out his 5 fingers and completely crushed the void between heaven and earth. Ah! Bang, bang, bang. The world exploded continuously. Thousands of disciples of the Holy Land of Taichu all exploded into a mist of blood. A large number of broken limbs fell down. Yi Xian killed them all with one blow. Ah! He Tian screamed in horror. He didn't expect Yi Xian to kill people just like that. This terrified him to the extreme. Let's go. Take me to the absolute beginning forbidden land. Yi Xian smiled after killing the man. He directly picked up He Tian and asked him to take him to the absolute beginning forbidden land. The forbidden land of absolute beginning was a restriction, and He Tian didn't know how to open it. However, to Yi Xian, who had spent tens of millions of years studying formations and restrictions in the primal chaos trial, he could be called a grandmaster of formations. This restriction was naturally easy for him to break. Open. Yi Xian pointed at the sky and drew the earth, reversing the heaven and earth. With a point of his finger, he outlined the mysterious formation patterns and unlocked the restriction in an instant. Senior, can I leave now? He Tian trembled as he begged. Since you brought me here, I'll leave your corpse intact. Yi Xian smiled coldly. You didn't keep your word, He Tian continuously retreated as he furiously roared at Yi Xian. He originally thought that if he brought Yi Xian here, the other party would spare his life. I never said that I would spare your life if you brought me here. Yi Xian coldly said. He pointed out a finger and pierced through He Tian's forehead, causing him to turn into a corpse that fell at his feet. In fact, it didn't matter to Yi Xian whether he killed He Tian or not. It was just that Yi Xian didn't want to expose his whereabouts, so all the people of the absolute beginning forbidden land had to die. This was also something he had decided. Boom! Yi Xian stepped out and directly entered the absolute beginning forbidden land. The absolute beginning forbidden land. It was actually just a small independent space that contained all the treasures of the absolute beginning holy land. Chaos spirit stones, spiritual weapons, cultivation methods, elixirs, and many other spiritual items. Yi Xian was very short of cultivation resources, so he naturally wouldn't let go of these things. He took them all for himself. Of course, Yi Xian didn't enter the absolute beginning forbidden land for these cultivation resources. He wanted to find the backup plan left by Gai Tianyuan because Yi Xian believed that Gai Tianyuan must have done something after occupying the body of Sage King Tailing for tens of millions of years. It's here. Sure enough, as Yi Xian continued to go deeper, a flashing body appeared in front of him, and 2 jade boxes were placed on both sides. Yi Xian walked up quickly and came to the lifeless body. A sinister smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. What a great body. It seems that this is the backup plan you prepared for yourself. Yi Xian sneered. Bang! Yi Xian slapped out and directly smashed the body in front of him. Only then did Yi Xian show a satisfied smile on his face. On the other side. In the belly of a mountain hundreds of millions of miles away from the holy land of Taichu. A water screen was showing the scene of Yi Xian destroying the body. Gai Tianyuan's face was cold as he watched this scene, and his whole body was filled with extreme coldness. You little thief, remember this. I'll make sure you die a horrible death in the future. Gai Tianyuan roared in anger. This was because this body was compatible with his remnant soul. He'd searched for a full 30 million years to find such a body, but now that it was completely destroyed by Yi Xian, how could he not be furious to the extreme? However, Gai Tianyuan was indeed a scheming person. Although he tried his best to rush to the holy land of Taichu, Yi Xian still arrived one step ahead of him. Yi Xian used the power of time and space, and the speed of his space travel was not something he could compare with. This made Gai Tianyuan extremely helpless. It doesn't matter if the body is destroyed, but I really shouldn't have left those 2 secret methods there. They've benefited this little thief, Gai Tianyuan whispered hatefully. Gai Tianyuan's face was obviously pained. Obviously, the methods that he valued must be extraordinary. However, even if he wanted to take them back now, he didn't dare to appear in front of Yi Xian. You little thief, just you wait. When I find a body compatible with my remnant soul, I'll make sure you die a horrible death, Gai Tianyuan growled hatefully. In the forbidden land of Taichu. After destroying the body left by Gai Tianyuan, Yi Xian finally set his eyes on the 2 jade boxes. This made his eyes light up, wondering what treasures were in these 2 jade boxes. Yi Xian was very smart. Gai Tianyuan could put the 2 jade boxes together with the body he found, which proved that the things in the jade boxes must be extremely precious. Crack! Yi Xian didn't hesitate in the slightest as he directly opened the first jade box. He saw a jade slip flickering with golden light within. Yi Xian picked up the jade slip and sank his consciousness into it. After a few dozen seconds, he came back to his senses. Tianyuan combat method? It looks like this is Gai Tianyuan's cultivation method. This Tianyuan combat method is only suitable for the Tianyuan combat body. It's not very useful to me, but I can use it as a reference. Perhaps I can find traces of Gai Tianyuan from this cultivation method, Yi Xian murmured. He casually put the golden jade slip into his bag. Let me see what this second jade box contains. Yi Xian casually opened the second jade box and saw a page of scripture appear. It was releasing mysterious ripples. Oh! Yi Xian was slightly surprised. Most cultivation methods and secret techniques were recorded in jade slips, but this page of scripture had a mysterious aura. It was clearly not ordinary. Yi Xian hesitated for a few seconds before gently picking up the page of scripture. The 4 large words reflected in his eyes, and Yi Xian read them out loud. Body, external, transformation. Chapter 1152. This. Yi Xian was obviously stunned, and his expression became extremely strange. He looked at the scripture in his hand with an extremely complicated expression. Outer body incarnation. This was a great divine sense that had been passed down in the chaotic world. This secret method could be called a peerless treasure. Except for some ancient sects that still had this divine sense was almost extinct. Yi Xian had read through the history books in the Miaofa kingdom. Naturally, he had seen the introduction of outer body incarnation. However, Yi Xian did not take it seriously at first. He only thought that outer body incarnation was just a small skill, just like the I Chi turning 3 pure ones used by Lao Tzu when he was in the 3 realms. Both were roughly the same. However, when Yi Xian finished reading the introduction of outer body incarnation, he immediately knew that he was very wrong. Outer body incarnation was an extremely powerful divine sense, and it was not comparable to Lao Tzu's I Chi turning 3 pure ones. Lao Tzu's I Chi turning 3 pure ones was just a division of 3 original Chi essences. It could increase one's strength for a short period of time, and then it would dissipate. However, outer body incarnation was different. If the outer body incarnation was successfully cultivated, it was equivalent to creating another self. This avatar would be extremely loyal to the original self, and would have its own consciousness. Moreover, the avatar could cultivate on its own, and there were too many mysteries in it. The most important thing was that the outer body incarnation had a nature-defying ability, and that was, it could die for others. Yes, it could die for others. To make a simple analogy, if Yi Xian encountered a death tribulation, he could directly transfer it to his avatar. This death tribulation would also be borne by his avatar, and the original self could escape with his life. No matter if it was a tribulation, qigong deviation, or encountering an undefeatable enemy, the avatar could die for the original self. Not to mention anything else, just this point alone showed the horror of outer body incarnation. However, such an extremely powerful divine sense was only possessed by those ancient sects in the chaotic world. Naturally, Yi Xian could not have obtained it. However, Yi Xian didn't expect that he would actually obtain the great divine ability of an avatar here. This caused his emotions to be extremely complicated. Some people might ask why Yi Xian didn't feel any joy after obtaining such a powerful divine ability. Instead, he felt complicated. The reason was simple. There were very few people who could cultivate outer body incarnation, and it was said that there was a slim chance of survival. Throughout the entire chaotic world, there were only a handful of people who could cultivate outer body incarnation. Look at Gai Tianyuan. He was able to contend against the Lord of all spirits in the past, but even he didn't manage to cultivate an avatar. Otherwise, he wouldn't have died at the hands of the Lord of all spirits, with only a wisp of his soul remaining. Firstly, if one wanted to cultivate an external avatar, then one required the chaotic 5-elemental rock as the main material, various chaotic spirit essences, and one had to cultivate painstakingly for 10,000 years before one could truly create an external avatar. This sounded very simple, but the difficulty involved was not something that outsiders could imagine. The chaotic 5-elemental rock was divided into metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. These 5 kinds of chaotic spirit stones were rare treasures. Few people could gather the chaotic 5-elemental rock together, and it required a huge amount of chaotic spirit essences. Of course, the chaotic world was never short of these treasures. Naturally, these materials could also be collected in those ancient sections. But the most important point was that even if one used these materials to create an external avatar, it was extremely dangerous to cultivate it with 10,000 years of painstaking effort. The cultivator had to plant his painstaking effort in the body of the external avatar, and it would take 10,000 years for him to be able to communicate with the external avatar. As long as there was a slight mistake, the cultivator's spirit would be split and he would die, which was the so-called soul scattering. Therefore, throughout the entire chaotic world, even if someone got this great divine ability, very few people would cultivate it. Of course, if one succeeded in cultivating it, the benefits would be great, because the outer body incarnation was absolutely the top divine ability in the chaotic world, and the mystery contained in it was beyond the imagination of outsiders. To cultivate or not to cultivate it? Yi Xian held the scripture in his hand and frowned tightly. He was thinking about this problem and did not know how to choose. As for the chaotic 5-elemental rock, although Yi Xian knew that it was a treasure, it was not impossible to find it in the Nanda territory. If he was willing to search for it one by one, he could always gather it. What really weighed Yi Xian down was the process of the 10,000 years of painstaking effort. If he made a mistake, he would end up with his soul scattering. Yi Xian was very clear that in the distant past, there were many geniuses who thought they were extraordinary and extremely arrogant in cultivating this great divine ability, but in the end, they all ended up with their souls scattering. Yi Xian was silent and hesitated. However, the process did not take long. After a few breaths, Yi Xian's eyes were fixed and he had made a decision. What am I afraid of? Haven't I been wandering between life and death all this time? I have survived so many death tribulations. Why wouldn't I dare to cultivate an external incarnation? Yi Xian laughed at himself and calmed down. As long as I cultivate an external incarnation, not only will I have an extra life, but this external incarnation will also be of great use to me. This great divine ability is tailor-made for me. Yi Xian whispered excitedly. No one knew what Yi Xian was thinking. In fact, Yi Xian had a plan, but he had never put it into action. The boundless mortal world technique. Yes, it was the boundless mortal world technique, also known as the power of karma. Luo Ho cultivated this technique. In the past, Yi Xian had also passed this technique to Lu Bai. The power of karma was one of the 12 strongest forces in the chaos. Yi Xian had wanted to cultivate this technique for a long time, but he had never taken action. It was not that Yi Xian did not want to cultivate it, but that he did not have enough energy. The power of time and space and the power of nirvana were 2 supreme powers that he had just mastered and had yet to cultivate to a profound level. If he were to cultivate the boundless secular world technique, his own cultivation method would be extremely heterogeneous. As the saying goes, quality is more important than quantity. After all, a person's energy was limited. If Yi Xian was distracted by cultivating the boundless mortal world technique, not only would his cultivation not improve, it would stagnate because of the boundless mortal world technique. However, it was different now. This great divine ability of the external incarnation was tailor-made for Yi Xian. As long as Yi Xian could cultivate the external incarnation successfully, he could let his clone cultivate the boundless mortal world technique. This would also solve the problem that Yi Xian had always wanted to cultivate the boundless mortal world technique. As long as he succeeded in cultivating the external incarnation, his clone could cultivate the boundless mortal world technique and then derive the power of karma. Yi Xian had a huge ambition. If this path worked, it would not only be the power of karma. If he had the chance to obtain another supreme technique, he could let his external incarnation cultivate another supreme force. If Yi Xian's plan really worked, Yi Xian would have 4 supreme forces in the future. Just thinking about that scene made Yi Xian extremely excited. Fortunately, Yi Xian quickly calmed down. This was only his idea and plan, and he needed to realize it step by step. Chapter 1153. There were 2 things that Yi Xian needed to do. The first was to find Gai Tianyuan and kill him because that guy knew too many of his secrets. The second was his body and the sage monarch world, as well as the inheritance of the Chaos Star Master. Yi Xian stepped into the Saint Monarch realm in a hurry. His cultivation had not stabilized, the sage monarch world had not been opened, and his body had not been refined. The most important thing was that he wanted to cultivate the inheritance of the Chaos Star Master. It was only because of Gai Tianyuan that he was delayed for so long. If he did not solve this problem, he would not be able to cultivate in peace. Yi Xian quickly put away the page of scripture and strode out of the forbidden area. The entire holy land of Taichu turned into ashes, completely buried in his hands. Mystic Spell Kingdom. Nearly 1,000,000 years had passed since Yi Xian left. During this period of time, Lin Miaofa and Lin Miaofa could be said to be trembling in fear. This was because too many things had happened in these 1,000,000 years. The entire Mystic Spell Kingdom was almost destroyed because of Yi Xian. Fortunately, someone came forward and saved the Mystic Spell Kingdom. It was worth mentioning that after 1,000,000 years, Lin Miaofa had stepped into the Great Saint Realm, and Lin Miaoxian was only 1 step away from it. This was the only thing that made the 2 women happy. However, the 2 women were always on tenterhooks and hoped that Yi Xian would appear day and night because the big shot who protected the Mystic Spell Kingdom wanted to see Yi Xian. He even told the 2 women to inform him immediately if Yi Xian appeared. The 2 women respected this big shot like a god because behind this big shot was a colossus. Throughout the chaotic world, this big shot's orthodoxy had existed since ancient times. It was not something that the Mystic Spell Kingdom could compare to. Clang clang clang. The sound of the guqin was like water, as if expressing melancholy. Lin Miaofa's 10 fingers plucked the strings, and her beautiful face was slightly haggard. Lin Miaoxian shook her head helplessly, knowing that her sister was also under great pressure. I haven't seen you for many years. Why are you so melancholy? Suddenly, a clear voice sounded. Yi Xian crossed the sky and appeared in front of the 2 women in an instant, looking at them with his hands behind his back. Mr. Yi? Bang! The sound of the zither strings breaking was extremely ear-piercing. Lin Miaofa stared blankly at Yi Xian, as if he couldn't believe his eyes. Mr. Yi, is it really you? Lin Miaoxian exclaimed softly. Her eyes were red and misty. Don't misunderstand. The 2 women didn't have any deep feelings for Yi Xian, but Yi Xian's appearance had finally allowed them to breathe a sigh of relief. They finally didn't have to face that terrifying big shot. Yi Xian was a shrewd man, and he could tell that the 2 women had a lot on their minds. Moreover, he had killed several great saints and Saint King Hun Tian at the Southern Dipper meeting. How could the 2 women not be implicated? Actually, Yi Xian had returned to the Mystic Magic Kingdom to see if the Mystic Magic Kingdom was still there. If it was still there, he wanted to see if he could find a way to find Gai Tianyuan through the Mystic Magic Kingdom. If the Mystic Magic Kingdom was destroyed by the 10,000 Spirit Heavenly Palace, he would naturally leave. But now, it seemed that the Wondrous Spell Nation was safe and sound after 1,000,000 years. There must be some inside story that he didn't know. Sir, please take a seat. Lin Miaoxian was extremely obedient. She knew that Yi Xian had a fierce temperament, so she quickly fetched a futon for Yi Xian. Yi Xian didn't stand on ceremony. He sat on the futon and looked at the two women with deep eyes. His entire person was calm. Sir, where have you been for the past 1,000,000 years? We sisters. Before Lin Miaofa could finish, Yi Xian waved his hand and interrupted, no need to ask about my well-being. Tell me what happened. Yi Xian didn't have any feelings for the two women. To put it bluntly, both sides were just using each other. There was no need for so many polite words. Lin Miaofa's expression changed slightly. She knew that Yi Xian was a meticulous person. He must have seen through something. She didn't hide it and slowly told him what happened in the past 1,000,000 years. It turned out that back then, Yi Xian killed several great sages and even chased after Saint King Hun Tian for hundreds of millions of miles. This matter was so big that it made the 10,000 Spirit Palace extremely angry. The 10,000 Spirit Palace even sent out several elders to search for Yi Xian's whereabouts. But in the end, they couldn't find him. Yi Xian had a close relationship with the two women. This also made the 10,000 Miles Heaven Palace vent their anger on the Wondrous Spell Nation. When the elders arrived, they almost uprooted the Wondrous Spell Nation. But it was also at this time that a big shot appeared. With a few words, he sent away the elders of the 10,000 Spirit Palace and saved the Wondrous Spell Nation. Big shot. After listening to the two women's narration, Yi Xian frowned slightly. He didn't have any friends in the chaotic world. Who was this so-called big shot? Interesting. He can persuade the people of the 10,000 Spirit Palace to leave with just a few words. It seems that this big shot is not ordinary. Yi Xian narrowed his eyes. Tell me, who is this big shot and what is his purpose? Yi Xian looked at the two women indifferently. Bu, Tian, Pavilion, Lord. Lin Miaofa said word by word. Even her voice was trembling. A hint of reverence flashed across her eyes. Bu Tian Pavilion Lord. Yi Xian frowned. This was the first time he heard this name. Naturally, he didn't know who this person was. Perhaps you haven't heard of the Bu Tian Pavilion Lord. But I'm sure you've heard of the Bu Tian sect, right? Lin Miaofa said. Bu Tian sect? Yi Xian's expression changed. He naturally knew of the Bu Tian sect. It was clearly recorded in the chaotic book of history that the Bu Tian sect was a great sect in the central region. Although it wasn't as terrifying as the 10 most powerful sects, it was still a colossus. The Bu Tian sect lord was even a terrifying big shot in the legends. Yes, the Bu Tian Pavilion Lord is from the Bu Tian sect. He is in charge of the Bu Tian Pavilion in the southern region. He is also a big shot in the creation realm. If he didn't appear to protect the Wondrous Spell Nation, I'm afraid our Wondrous Spell Nation would have been destroyed by the 10,000 Spirit Palace, Lin Miaofa said. Mr. Yi, you probably don't know. Back then, you caused a great disaster. The 10,000 Spirit Palace issued a kill order to kill you. It was the Bu Tian Pavilion Lord who came out and made the 10,000 Spirit Palace withdraw this order, Lin Miaofa continued. Oh. Yi Xian slightly narrowed his eyes. He already felt that something was wrong. He had nothing to do with the Bu Tian sect, yet the Bu Tian Pavilion Lord actually went to war for him. There must be some secret that he didn't know about. Tell me, what did the Bu Tian Pavilion Lord tell you? Yi Xian's thoughts turned as he indifferently looked at the two girls. The Butian Pavilion Lord told us that if you return to the wondrous Spell Nation, he hopes that you can take a trip to the Butian Pavilion. He wants to see you. Lin Miofa bowed and said. Okay. Yi Xian didn't hesitate at all and directly agreed. He really wanted to know why the Butian Pavilion Lord wanted to help him. Although Yi Xian had a faint guess in his heart, he didn't dare to confirm it. He was just waiting to see the Butian Pavilion Lord, then everything would be revealed. Chapter 1154. Thank you, Mr. Yi. I'll make the arrangements now. Lin Miaofa's face was filled with joy. She immediately shot out a ray of light and disappeared from the Mystic Kingdom. Clearly, this was a secret communication technique. Sure enough, after a few dozen breaths of time, the ray of light turned back and formed a mirror image in front of Yi Xian. A voice came out from the mirror image. Yi Xian. Heaven Mending Pavilion Master. Yi Xian's expression did not change. He continued to talk to the Heaven Mending Pavilion Master. This Pavilion Master will send someone to the Mystic Kingdom to pick you up. I hope you won't leave. The Heaven Mending Pavilion Master's voice was cold. The mirror image instantly disappeared. Too many things could be seen from a person's attitude. Although the Heaven Mending Pavilion Master only said a few words, Yi Xian could feel that the Pavilion Master did not have any good intentions towards him. Heaven Mending Pavilion. Heaven Mending Sect. Yi Xian's eyes narrowed. A smile appeared on his face. The guess in his heart had become more and more certain. 3 days later. The person from the Heaven Mending Pavilion was a great saint. As soon as he arrived at the Mystic Kingdom, he shouted for Yi Xian to come out. However, when Yi Xian appeared in front of him, this great saint looked at him in surprise. He did not expect Yi Xian to be a saint king. Lead the way. Yi Xian did not ask for this person's name. He was not interested in him at all because the person he really wanted to meet was the Heaven Mending Pavilion Master. Your cultivation is not bad, but you are too arrogant. Tuo High Great Saint slowly shook his head and judged Yi Xian. Unfortunately, Yi Xian did not pay attention to this person. Tuo High Great Saint was ordered to bring Yi Xian to the Heaven Mending Pavilion. Although he was dissatisfied with Yi Xian's attitude, he did not say anything. Follow me closely. Tuo High Great Saint said in a low voice. He turned into a ray of light and shot towards the east. Yi Xian calmly followed. The two of them instantly disappeared from the Mystic Kingdom. Who? Lin Miofa heaved a sigh of relief and said, that plague god is finally gone. My Miofa nation has finally escaped this calamity. Sister, I don't think this person is a reckless person. Instead, he has a great spirit. Can't our Miofa nation be on good terms with him? Lin Miaoxian frowned. AI. Lin Miofa sighed, so what if he's bold? He's just a mortal after all. Furthermore, he has offended the 10,000 Spirit Heavenly Palace, which has already cut off his future path. Our Miofa nation is only a small place. We can't keep someone like him, and we can't keep him. Otherwise, he'll definitely bring us a great disaster. Sister, I feel that this person's temperament is very unusual. Every time I see him, although I feel a little scared, I also have a very strong sense of security. It seems that as long as he is by my side, there is nothing that can't be solved. Lin Miaoxian murmured. Little sister, you can't have fallen in love with this person, right? Lin Miaofa's expression changed. No, how could I fall in love with him? Lin Miaoxian blushed and hurriedly waved her hand to explain. Little sister, you have to remember, you can't get involved with this person. Otherwise, it will implicate us. Lin Miofa said earnestly. I know, sister. Lin Miofa murmured. However, Yi Xian's voice and appearance still lingered in her heart, which made her heart tremble and feel shy. Auspicious and colorful, bejeweled palaces, vast and boundless territories. Rainbows and immortal bridges intertwined, and within the spiritual chi that filled the sky, numerous palaces stretched across the sky, causing one to feel a great sense of reverence when looking at them. At this moment, Yi Xian and Tua Hai Great Sage stood side by side. In front of them was a vast palace with 3 words written on it, Heaven Mending Pavilion. Our pavilion master is waiting for you inside. You can go in. Tua Hai Great Sage said coldly and turned to leave Yi Xian's side. Little friend, please come in. A deep voice came from inside Heaven Mending Pavilion. Yi Xian's expression was calm as he strode into Heaven Mending Pavilion. Inside Heaven Mending Pavilion, a figure in snow-white clothes was standing in front of Yi Xian. His body was surrounded by strands of divine light of creation. However, this person stood with his hands behind his back. Even when Yi Xian came behind him, he did not turn around to look at Yi Xian. At this moment, Yi Xian indifferently looked at Heaven Mending Pavilion Master's back. He did not speak first, but a trace of contempt flashed through his eyes as he quietly stood behind him. A show of strength. A naked show of strength. The Heaven Mending Pavilion Master's attitude was simply to invisibly pressure Yi Xian. Unfortunately, Heaven Mending Pavilion Master found the wrong person. Yi Xian did not fall for this trick. He had experienced all kinds of storms and waves. Even though Heaven Mending Pavilion Master was at the blessed realm, Yi Xian was not afraid at all. Time slowly passed. After half an hour, Heaven Mending Pavilion Master seemed to feel that Yi Xian was not ordinary. He finally turned around to look at Yi Xian. Elegant, refined, and otherworldly. His eyes were like stars. Heaven Mending Pavilion Master was extremely handsome. Looking at his age, he seemed to be a young man. He was not much older than Yi Xian. However, Yi Xian knew that the person standing in front of him was an old monster. He was not as young as he appeared. You are Yi Xian. Heaven Mending Pavilion Master's eyes were deep. He first sized up Yi Xian before coldly speaking. You are Heaven Mending Pavilion Master. Yi Xian's eyes stared straight at Heaven Mending Pavilion Master. Their gazes met, and an extremely oppressive atmosphere was created. It was as if there was a spark in their gazes. I have to say, you are very courageous. After 3 breaths, Heaven Mending Pavilion Master lightly spoke. I have always been courageous. Otherwise, why would I come here alone to see you? Yi Xian slightly smiled and said. As Yi Xian's words fell, Heaven Mending Pavilion Master's face froze. Then, he smiled and nodded. Not bad, it seems like this Pavilion Master has underestimated you. I don't want to talk nonsense. I came to see you because I want to know why you want to help me. After all, we do not know each other, and I cannot find a reason why you would help me. Yi Xian did not want to waste time with Heaven Mending Pavilion Master, so he directly asked the question in his heart. It is very simple. It is because my superiors want me to protect you and not allow anyone to harm you. Is this reason enough? Heaven Mending Pavilion Master lightly said. Your superiors? Heaven Mending Sect. Yi Xian's eyes slightly narrowed. He was not surprised at all, as if he had already guessed this result. You are very smart. It seems like you have already guessed it. Heaven Mending Pavilion Master nodded and said. So you are saying that the person I saw before is an important figure in the Heaven Mending Sect, and you are also following his orders? Yi Xian said in a low voice. Correct. However, his identity is more terrifying than you can imagine. He is Heaven Mending Pavilion Master, an existence that you will always have to look up to. Heaven Mending Pavilion Master calmly admitted. He bowed towards the direction of the Central Territory, and his entire person was extremely sincere. So it is like this. Yi Xian sighed. Lu Bai's face flashed through his mind. It seemed like Lu Bai was in the Central Territory's Heaven Mending Sect. Chapter 1155. However, what made Yi Xian somewhat helpless was that Lu Bai had always been concerned about him. Presumably, Sect Master Bu Tian had ordered his disciples to protect him because of Lu Bai. Since everything is clear, there is no need for me to stay. Help me tell Sect Master Bu Tian that I, Yi Xian, do not need the protection of the heaven-mending sect, because I cannot afford to repay this favor. Goodbye. Yi Xian cupped his hands and turned to leave. Wait. Suddenly, before Yi Xian could take 2 steps, Pavilion Master Bu Tian's cold voice rang out. This also made Yi Xian stop, but he did not turn back to look at Pavilion Master Bu Tian. Is there anything else? Yi Xian asked in a deep voice. If you want to leave, this Pavilion Master will not stop you, nor will I make things difficult for you. This is because this Pavilion Master received an order to protect your life. However, before you leave, I have to warn you about one thing. The heaven-mending Pavilion Master coldly said. What is it? Yi Xian slowly turned around. Although his expression looked calm, a cold light flashed through his eyes. I do not know why Sect Master Bu Tian ordered me to protect you, but I can feel that Sect Master Bu Tian hates you very much. I do not want to know the reason, nor do I need to know. However, I want to remind you of one thing. You killed several great saints of orthodoxies. These are trivial matters in the eyes of the heaven-mending sect, and I can help you block them. However, you killed people of the 10,000 Spirit Palace, and even killed Sacred King Hun Tian. This has already angered the 10,000 Spirit Palace. This is not a trivial matter. Yi Xian narrowed his eyes and said without changing his expression, what are you trying to say? I want to tell you that don't think that you can do whatever you want with the protection of the heaven-mending sect. There are too many great sects in the chaotic world that cannot be provoked. If you offend them one day, even the heaven-mending sect will not be able to protect you. Moreover, in order to make up for your mistake, I personally went to see Venerable Sky Tyrant and begged him to revoke the 10,000 Spirit Sky Palace's bounty on you. I even paid him a treasure of heaven and earth. Remember, this is the only time. If you offend the 10,000 Spirit Heavenly Palace or some other terrifying power again, this Pavilion Master will not continue to protect you. After all, the Sect Master only said that he would protect your life. He did not say that he would help you fight against those powers. Remember, if you do it again, I will seal your cultivation and imprison you in the heaven-mending pavilion forever. This way, you can be considered to be obeying the sect leader's orders. The heaven-mending pavilion master spoke a lot. His words were extremely sharp, but Yi Xian listened attentively. From beginning to end, he was extremely calm. Are you done? Yi Xian asked calmly. Bu Tian Pavilion Master's face froze. Then let me tell you something. Yi Xian stood with his hands behind his back. He looked at the heaven-mending pavilion master and said, from beginning to end, I have never asked for protection from the heaven-mending sect. I even told the sect master that I, Yi Xian, do not need the heaven-mending sect's protection. All of this was your own decision. What does it have to do with me? Speaking of which, I really don't like the way you talk to me. You think that just because you are in the blessed realm, you can order me around? Yi Xian said coldly. How dare you? The heaven-mending pavilion master's face was filled with rage. His holy light of creation suddenly exploded. His 5 fingers were raised as if he was about to attack Yi Xian. The blessed realm was indeed terrifying. Just the power that exploded out caused Yi Xian's face to change. The opponent's aura was several times stronger than Gai Tianyuan's. Clearly, this was the true cultivation of a blessed realm expert. However, Yi Xian did not show any fear. Even if he could not beat the heaven-mending pavilion master, he believed that if he wanted to leave, the other party could not stop him. Phew! The heaven-mending pavilion master let out a breath of turbid air. In the end, he did not make a move against Yi Xian. After all, Yi Xian was someone the heaven-mending sect master wanted to protect. He did not want to force Yi Xian too much. Moreover, he still needed Yi Xian to do something for him. This was the real reason why he wanted to see Yi Xian. Yi Xian, this pavilion master does not want to argue with you. Since you do not need my heaven-mending sect's protection, I will report this matter to the sect master. However, right now, I need you to do something for me. The heaven-mending sect master said in a deep voice. What is it? Yi Xian did not like to owe others favors. Even though this was forced upon him by the heaven-mending sect, the heaven-mending sect did indeed help him. Even though the 10,000 Spirit Heavenly Palace has revoked the order to kill you, I have promised Venerable Sky Tyrant that I will personally take you to the 10,000 Spirit Heavenly Palace to apologize. This is related to the 10,000 Spirit Heavenly Palace's reputation, so I hope you can come with me. The heaven-mending pavilion master paused here. Clearly, he was afraid that Yi Xian would be worried about the 10,000 Spirit Heavenly Palace's calamity. He then continued, you can rest assured. Since Venerable Sky Tyrant has promised me not to make things difficult for you, you will not encounter any danger on this trip to the 10,000 Spirit Heavenly Palace. 10,000 Spirit Heavenly Palace. Apologize? Yi Xian smiled. However, his smile was very cold. The person who could make Yi Xian bow and apologize had not been born yet. Even though he could not shake the colossus that was the 10,000 Spirit Heavenly Palace, it was impossible for him, Yi Xian, to personally apologize. This was related to his own dignity. Yi Xian was just about to refuse, but when the words reached his mouth, he suddenly paused. A strange expression flashed through his eyes, as if he'd thought of something. Yi Xian's tone changed. The corner of his mouth curved into a smile as he said, okay, I promise you. Perhaps some people would ask, was Yi Xian really going to personally apologize? What a joke, what a joke. An apology was definitely not an apology. Instead, Yi Xian had thought of a way to kill with a borrowed knife. What did it mean to kill with a borrowed knife? The 10,000 Spirit Heavenly Palace was the knife, and the person he wanted to kill was naturally Gai Tianyuan. Right now, there was no news of Gai Tianyuan. No one knew where he was hiding, but he could stab Yi Xian in the back at any time. Yi Xian was in the light, while Gai Tianyuan was in the dark. This situation was extremely unfavorable for Yi Xian, so Yi Xian wanted to turn the situation around. Yi Xian was alone. If he wanted to find Gai Tianyuan, it would be like looking for a needle in a haystack. The 10,000 Spirit Heavenly Palace was extremely powerful, and they were the leaders of the 10th Origin Gathering. If they made a move, Gai Tianyuan would have nowhere to hide. Moreover, Yi Xian was very confident that as long as he told the 10,000 Spirit Heavenly Palace about Gai Tianyuan, they would not only not view him as an enemy, but would also be extremely grateful. After all, Gai Tianyuan was once the enemy of the Lord of all Spirits. If the 10,000 Spirit Heavenly Palace knew he was still alive, how could they let him go? In truth, Yi Xian really did not like to use such a sinister scheme. He still wanted to personally kill Gai Tianyuan. It was that simple and direct. However, Yi Xian needed time to kill Gai Tianyuan. His cultivation had not stabilized, his sage monarch world had not been opened, his body had not been tempered, and he had not cultivated the Chaos Star Master's inheritance. Moreover, he had just obtained the external incarnation technique. Therefore, Yi Xian could only use a sinister scheme to kill Gai Tianyuan. Only then could he eliminate this hidden danger and let him cultivate in peace. After all, Yi Xian did not want Gai Tianyuan to suddenly appear behind him and stab him in the back while he was cultivating. Yi Xian had to eliminate this hidden danger. At this moment, after receiving Yi Xian's agreement, the heaven-mending pavilion master finally revealed a smile. The anger that had just risen also dissipated. Clearly, he believed that Yi Xian had given in. Unfortunately, the heaven-mending pavilion master did not know that Yi Xian had agreed to go with him to the 10,000 Spirit Subhall because he wanted to borrow the 10,000 Spirit Subhall's hand to kill Gai Tianyuan. This was his true goal. As for the so-called apology, it was simply nonsense to Yi Xian. Chapter 1156. Myriad Spirit Palace. In the entire southern Dou region, the Myriad Spirit Palace was definitely the most terrifying existence. Other than the 9 great orthodoxies, no one dared to go against the will of the Myriad Spirit Palace. The Myriad Spirit Palace was in charge of the 10th Yuan Hui and never lacked the so-called amazing talents. Its foundation was unimaginably deep, and it even had the Lord of all spirits in the central region. All the orthodoxies worshipped it. Majestic and majestic, a vast heavenly palace stretched across the clouds. Golden lotuses bloomed in the void, illuminating the heavenly palace with boundless majesty. A golden plaque hung above the heavenly palace, 10,000 spirits sub-palace. Inside the Myriad Spirit Palace, Sky Tyrant Venerable stood with his hands behind his back. This person had a rough appearance and a red face. Although he did not reveal any aura, he gave off an extremely domineering feeling. Palace Master, Butian Pavilion Master is waiting outside with that person called Yi Xian. May I know when Palace Master will summon them? A guard bowed and reported. Let them wait outside, Sky Tyrant Venerable said disdainfully as if he did not put Butian Pavilion Master and Yi Xian in his eyes. Palace Master, Butian Pavilion Master is a member of Butian sect. If we let him wait outside, isn't it a little? An old Saint King walked over and bowed to Sky Tyrant Venerable. He wanted to say something but stopped. Humph, Venerable Sky Tyrant coldly snorted and said, a mere heaven-mending pavilion master. Do you want me to greet him respectfully? Although the heaven-mending sect is powerful, it depends on who it is compared to. In front of my 10,000 spirit heavenly palace, the heaven-mending sect is just a subordinate. Venerable Empyrean Tyrant paused for a moment, then looked into the distance and continued, the Grand Central Territory sent me a message saying that Jiu Lingzi has arrived at the Grand Southern Territory. He will be here today. After we welcome Jiu Lingzi, we will summon these 2 people. The 9th Spirit Son. The old Saint King's expression changed. He quickly bowed to Sky Tyrant Venerable and said, could it be the 9th Spirit Son, Yao Yueye? Of course it's him. Otherwise, why would I come out and wait here? Venerable Sky Tyrant smiled. Rumor has it that the 9th Spirit Child, Yao Yueye, has the Demon Moon battle physique. Every time the moon star rises into the sky, his combat strength will double. He is one of the spirit children cultivated by the main palace. Why would he come to our southern Dou territory? The old Saint King asked in surprise. Spiritual sons also need to gain experience, and this 9th spiritual son's place of experience is in the Great Southern Dou region. This Hall Master has just been notified. Venerable Sky Tyrant smiled. Congratulations, Palace Master. As long as you can establish a connection with the 9th spiritual son, you will definitely be able to return to the Central Territory in the future. Even entering the Yin-Yang realm is just around the corner. The old Holy King hurriedly congratulated him. Ha ha ha. Venerable Sky Tyrant laughed heartily and said, thank you for your kind words. If I can return to the Grand Central Territory, I will definitely bring you along. Thank you, Palace Lord, for your kindness. The old Holy King hurriedly knelt on the ground, excitement on his face. One had to know that although the north, south, east, west, and north regions were vast and rich in resources, they were far inferior to the Grand Central Territory. Countless opportunities were gathered in the Grand Central Domain. Many colossal figures were stationed in the Grand Central Domain, and those peerless geniuses were all competing there. Venerable Sky Tyrant was originally a disciple of the main hall, but he offended someone and was sent to the Great Southern Dou region to be a small sub-hall master. Only he knew the sadness and helplessness he felt. This time, the 9th spiritual son, Yao Yueye, came to the Great Southern Dou region. Venerable Sky Tyrant must take this opportunity to build a good relationship with the 9th spiritual son. Only then would he have a chance to return to the Grand Central Territory. Palace Lord, What about Butian Pavilion Master and the others? The guard at the side wanted to say something but stopped. Let them wait outside. Yes, Palace Lord. The guard hurriedly agreed and quickly left. Outside the All Spirits Palace, Yi Xian and Butian Pavilion Master stood side by side. The two of them were listening to the guard's message, but Butian Pavilion Master's face clearly showed some dissatisfaction. You want us to wait? Butian Pavilion Master's voice was slightly cold. Senior, I have already passed on the Palace Lord's message. Goodbye. The guard bowed and left with large strides. Ah! Suddenly, Yi Xian sneered and said, It seems like this venerable sky tyrant did not put your heaven-mending sect in his eyes. I thought your heaven-mending sect was more powerful. Hearing Yi Xian's words, Butian Pavilion Master's face became gloomy, but he could not refute Yi Xian's words. Yi Xian, I don't want to argue with you. Since Venerable Sky Tyrant told us to wait outside, then there is no need for us to meet him. Let's go. Butian Pavilion Master's temperament seemed gentle and polite, but he was extremely arrogant. Moreover, he represented the heaven-mending sect. If they really waited here, then this matter would be a loss of face for the heaven-mending sect. Go. Yi Xian said faintly, since we are already here, if we don't meet Venerable Sky Tyrant, then wouldn't we have wasted our trip? Butian Pavilion Master's face froze. He looked at Yi Xian with a strange expression. Logically speaking, if he brought Yi Xian away, then Yi Xian would have nothing to lose. Why did he want to meet the Venerable Sky Tyrant clan? No, this brat is too shrewd. He must be up to something. Butian Pavilion Master muttered to himself. However, he did not know what Yi Xian wanted to do. Yi Xian, tell me the truth. You want to meet Venerable Sky Tyrant not to apologize, right? Butian Pavilion Master said in a low voice. Ha! Yi Xian smiled and did not answer. This made Butian Pavilion Master even more suspicious of Yi Xian. Just as Butian Pavilion Master was about to continue asking, he heard a loud rumbling sound from the distant sky. 9 strange beasts with dragon heads and tiger bodies were pulling a bright silver ancient chariot towards the 10,000 Spirit Palace. Butian Pavilion Master's expression changed. He whispered in shock, 10,000 Spirit Palace. Spiritual droplets are traveling. How is this possible? Aren't the 10,000 Spirit Palaces spiritual droplets in the Central Territory? Butian Pavilion Master whispered in shock. What spiritual droplets? Yi Xian naturally noticed the silver ancient war chariot that was heading towards them. He could even see a figure sitting cross-legged within the war chariot. There were also 4 beautiful women on both sides of the war chariot. A coachman was whipping 9 strange beasts as they rumbled towards him. The so-called spiritual droplets are the disciples raised by the 10,000 Spirit Palace. Legend has it that the 10,000 Spirit Palace has 12 spiritual droplets. Each one of them has an extremely hard-to-find battle physique. They are also the strongest competitors in the next era. I wonder which spiritual droplet this 10,000 Spirit Palace is. Butian Pavilion Master said in a serious tone. Spiritual droplet? Yi Xian's eyes slightly brightened as he looked towards the 10,000 Spirit Palace. The 10,000 Spirit Palace's speed was extremely fast. In just a few breaths of time, it had already arrived in front of Yi Xian. 10,000 Spirit Palace, idle people please step aside. The coachman waved his whip and loudly shouted at Yi Xian and Butian Pavilion Master. The 10,000 Spirit Palace cannot be disturbed. We will step aside for now. Butian Pavilion Master frowned and pulled Yi Xian to the side. Something that shocked Butian Pavilion Master happened. He pulled Yi Xian to step aside, but Yi Xian's body did not move at all. This caused Butian Pavilion Master's expression to change. Quickly step aside. Butian Pavilion Master coldly reminded Yi Xian. Unfortunately, Yi Xian turned a deaf ear as if he did not hear anything. The 10,000 spirit palace had already arrived in front of him and was about to crash into his body. Chapter 1157. How dare you! Smack! Seeing that Yi Xian didn't move, the coachman was furious. The long whip in his hand struck toward Yi Xian's head, causing the void to collapse. His cultivation turned out to be a great saint. Clang! Yi Xian flicked his finger, and the long whip that struck toward him roared. The coachman was sent flying with the long whip in his hand. Protect the emperor! The 4 beautiful women's faces turned cold. They jumped out of the 10,000 spirits' Dharma carriage, and a spiritual sword appeared in their hands. In an instant, they surrounded Yi Xian in the center. How dare you disturb the spirit Dharma carriage? How dare you! The 4 beautiful women scolded coldly, and an extremely cold murderous intent pressed toward Yi Xian. You were the one who went on a rampage. Why are you complaining now? Yi Xian said indifferently. How dare you! Sisters, take him down. The 4 women scolded, and the 4 spiritual swords clanged. The next moment, they were about to attack Yi Xian. Stand down. Suddenly, a soft voice came from the 10,000 spirits' Dharma carriage, which made the 4 women's faces change. They hurriedly put away the spiritual swords in their hands, and then bowed to the sides of the carriage. The bead curtain of the 10,000 spirits' Dharma carriage was lifted, and a young man in silver walked out. With the appearance of this person, the world seemed to have lost its color at this moment. His silver hair hung behind his head, and his eyes were like stars rotating. When his eyes opened and closed, it seemed that the scene of the sun setting and the moon rising appeared in his eyes. Beautiful, extremely beautiful, a beauty that couldn't be expressed with words. This kind of beauty should never appear on a man. His beauty seemed to make the stars in the sky lose their color. When Yi Xian saw this person, his eyes were in a trance. If it weren't for the Adam's apple, Yi Xian would have thought that this person was a woman. Your Highness, this person disturbed your Dharma carriage. He should be beaten to death. The coachman walked quickly, and his palm was bleeding. He looked at Yi Xian with extremely cold eyes. Shut up. The silver-robed man frowned and scolded, we were the ones who offended this fellow Taoist. How can we be so unreasonable? Your Highness, this old servant knows his mistake. The coachman hurriedly knelt and kowtowed, not daring to say another word. I am Yao Yuyi of the 10,000 Spirit Heavenly Palace. Greetings, fellow Taoist. May I know your name? Yao Yuyi was elegant as he cupped his hands and bowed towards Yi Xian with a kind smile on his face. The spring wind and rain were extremely auspicious. The elegance that Yao Yuyi displayed was simply impeccable. I am Yi Xian. Greetings, fellow Taoist. Yi Xian's expression didn't change. He cupped his hands and bowed. The 9 Heavens Saint King. This guy is actually a 9 Heavens Saint King. Although Yi Xian seemed calm, monstrous waves had already risen in his heart. He could even sense Yao Yuyi's terrifying cultivation from her aura. If it was an ordinary 9 Heavens Saint King, Yi Xian would never pay attention to her. However, this Yao Yuyi in front of him gave him an extremely frightening feeling. The other party didn't reveal any aura, and was trying to hide it. However, just the trace of aura that leaked out made Yi Xian treat this person as a great enemy. Battle physique. This damned sissy must have some terrifying battle physique. Yi Xian roared in his heart. He was extremely sure of his guess. Since Yi Xian entered the chaotic world, he had never seen any battle physique. Even Gai Tianyuan's heavenly origin battle physique was just a wisp of remnant soul. He couldn't sense anything. However, this Yao Yuyi definitely had some terrifying battle physique. Otherwise, although he was a 9 Heavens Saint King, he wouldn't have given him such pressure. You are the 9th spiritual son, Yao Yuyi. Suddenly, Butian Pavilion Master strode over. He looked at Yao Yueya with a shocked face, and a heavy look flashed across his eyes. This senior is from the heaven-mending sect, right? Yao Yueya is right. Yao Yueya cupped his hands and bowed towards Butian Pavilion Master. However, Butian Pavilion Master hurriedly avoided him and waved his hands. The ninth spiritual sun's might shakes the chaotic world. Although I am in the blessed realm, how can I be worthy of being the ninth spiritual sun senior? I ask that the ninth spiritual sun doesn't make me feel unworthy. Senior is too modest. Although I am a spiritual son, Yueya has always admired the heaven-mending sect. This bow is not only for senior, but also for the heaven-mending sect. Senior should be able to accept it. Yao Yueya smiled. Good, good, good. Butian Pavilion Master's face shook. He said 3 good words in a row. His face was full of vigor, and he looked at Yao Yueya with admiration. I dare not accept the title of senior. If the ninth spiritual sun thinks highly of me, just call me fellow Taoist. Butian Pavilion Master cupped his hands and returned the bow. His entire person was extremely humble. Where was the arrogant attitude he had towards Yi Xian before? Actually, Butian Pavilion Master could not be blamed for treating Yi Xian differently from Yao Yueya. The ninth spiritual sun, Yao Yueya, was extremely famous in the Grand Central Territory. He was even more famous among the younger generation. Although he was only in the 9 Heaven Saint King realm, his Demon Moon battle physique could fight against Blessed Realm cultivators. On the other hand, Yi Xian was only a loose cultivator. Whether it was fame or cultivation, he was far inferior to Yao Yueya. Most importantly, Yi Xian only had a mortal body. His potential was limited. Comparing the two, Butian Pavilion Master's attitude towards Yao Yueya was naturally different from Yi Xian. You really are like a dog. I wonder if your sect master will be angry that the heaven-mending sect does not have a successor after seeing you like this. Suddenly, Yi Xian sneered. He originally had a good impression of Butian Pavilion Master, but now that he saw Butian Pavilion Master's servile attitude towards Yao Yueya, he was completely disappointed. Yi Xian, don't go too far. Butian Pavilion Master's face was red as he loudly reprimanded Yi Xian. However, there was a trace of embarrassment in his eyes. After all, he was a member of the heaven-mending sect. Bowing to his sect's spiritual son was indeed damaging the heaven-mending sect's reputation. At this moment, a trace of surprise flashed through Yao Yueya's eyes. He could naturally see that Yi Xian was only a minor Saint King, and he only had a mortal body. However, what surprised Yao Yueya was that Butian Pavilion Master, a Blessed Realm cultivator, actually endured Yi Xian's mockery. This person is a bit interesting. Yao Yueya muttered in his heart. He finally sized up Yi Xian. However, it would have been better if he did not size him up. Now that he carefully observed him, his expression suddenly changed, but it returned to normal in an instant. This person actually gives me a sense of danger. Yao Yueya was surprised. Although he could see that Yi Xian was only a minor Saint King, his mind suddenly trembled for some reason. It was as if the other party was a sleeping beast that had not opened its eyes yet. Yao Yueya believed in his senses because his Demon Moon combat body was extremely sensitive. He would be able to sense anything that was a threat to him at first notice. He didn't even feel such a sense of danger from the heaven-mending Pavilion Master, but this person called Yi Xian gave him such a feeling. This person is definitely not ordinary. Yao Yueya did not look down on Yi Xian just because he had a mortal body. Instead, he became more and more concerned about Yi Xian. Rumble. Ha ha ha, the 9th spiritual sun has arrived in the southern Dipper region. Please forgive me for not coming out to meet you. Suddenly, a heavenly bridge spread out from the 10,000 Spirit Palace. Venerable Sky Tyrant's loud laughter could be heard as he led the elders and disciples of the 10,000 Spirit Heavenly Palace over. In the blink of an eye, they arrived in front of Yi Xian and the others. Chapter 1158. Greetings, Senior Sky Tyrant. Yao Yueye bowed politely. Venerable Sky Tyrant hurriedly dodged with a look of fear on his face. Instead, he bowed towards Yao Yueye. You mustn't do this, Sky Tyrant is only a small sub-hall master. How can I accept your bow? Sky Tyrant Venerable said in fear. Looking at Sky Tyrant Venerable's terrified expression, Yao Yueye no longer insisted. Sky Tyrant Venerable let out a sigh of relief and quickly invited Yao Yueye into the hall for a chat. You've come from afar. I've already prepared a feast to welcome you, please. Sky Tyrant Venerable invited Yao Yueye with a face full of smiles. Fellow Sky Tyrant. Suddenly, Butian Pavilion Master called out with an ugly expression. Apparently, Sky Tyrant Venerable's disregard for him made him lose some face. Sky Tyrant Venerable had already seen Butian Pavilion Master and Yi Xian, but with Ninth Spirit Son in front of him, he no longer had the mind to pay attention to Yi Xian and Butian Pavilion Master. This brat is the one who killed my myriad spirit subhall's people, right? Venerable Sky Tyrant finally looked towards Yi Xian and the Heaven-Mending Pavilion Master. However, his attitude had changed to one of superiority. How could he bow and scrape to Yao Yueye? Today, Ninth Spirit Son came to my myriad spirit subhall. I'll naturally summon you later. Sky Tyrant Venerable waved his hand and said impatiently. Sky Tyrant, I kept my promise and brought Yi Xian here to apologize to you, but you didn't put me in your eyes at all. Do you think my Butian sect is easy to bully? Butian Pavilion Master scolded. Noisy. Venerable Empyrean Tyrant's face was filled with anger as he roared. The holy light of creation rotated with a loud rumble, and an extremely overbearing power pressed down on the Heaven-Mending Pavilion Master. Do you think this Pavilion Master is afraid of you? Butian Pavilion Master scolded angrily. His holy light of creation also burst out. The aura of the two caused the wind and clouds to howl and the whole world to rumble. Seniors, can you give me some face and temporarily quell your anger? Before the two of them could make a move, Yao Yueye quietly stood in front of the two of them. A wisp of spirit light circled around his body, instantly isolating the auras of the two blessed realm cultivators. This damn transvestite has such a powerful cultivation. Yi Xian was shocked. He kept observing Yao Yueye with his Dharma eyes. He found that Yao Yueye's saint's soul and body were surrounded by a bloody light. Apparently, this was the secret of Yao Yueye's battle body. How would Badian dare to disobey Lingzi's orders? Venerable Sky Tyrant hurriedly withdrew his aura and bowed towards Yao Yueye before glaring fiercely at the Heaven-Mending Pavilion Master. Humph! The Heaven-Mending Pavilion Master coldly snorted and withdrew his aura as well. The great battle was dissolved into nothingness. From what I can see, this Yi Dao Yu has an extraordinary temperament. He is definitely not some evil demon. There must be some misunderstanding here. Why don't we all sit down and talk about it? Yao Yueye said with a smile. We'll do as Lingzi says. Venerable Sky Tyrant followed Yao Yueye's lead. He then glanced at the Heaven-Mending Pavilion Master and Yi Xian and said, since Lingzi invited you in, you should welcome Lingzi together. After Venerable Sky Tyrant finished speaking, he quickly led the way for Yao Yueye. Yao Yueye smiled and invited the Heaven-Mending Pavilion Master and Yi Xian to walk together. The group majestically entered the 10,000 Spirit Palace. Along the way, Yao Yuyi would chat with Yi Xian from time to time, and his words revealed his extraordinary bearing. Inside the 10,000 Spirit Palace, white jade was used as a table filled with spirit energy. Spirit fruits and immortal wine were served by maids. Under Venerable Sky Tyrant's invitation, Yao Yueye sat on the main seat while Venerable Sky Tyrant sat beside him. From this, it could be seen that Yao Yueye's position was extraordinary. His arrival was highly valued by Venerable Sky Tyrant and he did not dare to be negligent in his etiquette. The other 8 elders sat on both sides while Yi Xian and the Heaven-Mending Pavilion Master sat on the main seat. However, the heaven-mending pavilion master did not say anything. He only wanted to settle Yi Xian's matter and quickly leave. Lingzi came to the southern Do Great region to train. This is our 10,000 Spirit Palace's honor. This old man toasts Lingzi. Venerable Sky Tyrant drank the wine in his cup in one gulp. Come, let's drink together. Yao Yueye smiled and raised his cup to toast everyone. Then, he drank the wine in his cup. Brother Yi, I see that you have an extraordinary temperament and want to be friends with you. I also want to invite you to my 10,000 Spirit Palace to train with me. I wonder if Brother Yi Xian would do me the honor. Yao Yueye smiled and looked at Yi Xian. Lingzi, you. Venerable Sky Tyrant was stunned. Just as he was about to say something, Yao Yueye waved his hand slightly and made Venerable Sky Tyrant swallow his words. He just looked at Yi Xian with a complicated expression, mixed with extreme envy. Obviously, Yao Yueye wanted to take Yi Xian as a servant. This could be said to be an opportunity to reach the sky in a single bound. By the side of the ninth Lingzi, Yao Yueye, no matter if it was cultivation resources or secret skills, he could enjoy endless. Moreover, this was not the most important thing. The most important thing was that the 12 spirit sons of the 10,000 Spirit Palace were all extremely talented people. If they waited until the next Yuanhui began, a certain spirit son would most likely be the strongest in the next Yuanhui. Although the probability was very small, it did exist. Even if the ninth Lingzi, Yao Yueye, was not destined to be the strongest, he would definitely be a top figure in the chaotic world in the future. To be able to follow by Yao Yueye's side would naturally be a rising tide. Many people wanted this opportunity but could not get it. Although Venerable Sky Tyrant was in the creation realm, he was very eager to follow by Yao Yueye's side. This was also the reason why he was so respectful to Yao Yueye. It was just that Venerable Sky Tyrant did not expect that Yao Yueye would take a fancy to a small figure like Yi Xian. This naturally made him jealous and envious. Thank you for your kind intentions, but I am used to being free and can't accept any restrictions. Also, I don't like to be a dog for others. Yi Xian said lightly. Yi Xian did not speak but continued to speak. When he finished speaking, the entire hall was dead silent. The originally peaceful atmosphere suddenly dropped to the freezing point. Yi Xian, don't be rude. Butian Pavilion Master's expression changed greatly. He scolded Yi Xian in a low voice. His eyes flashed with anxiety. He secretly blamed Yi Xian in his heart. If you don't want to join the 10,000 Spirit Palace, why can't you decline tactfully? Do you have to say such offensive words? Sure enough. After 3 breaths, there was a loud bang. Venerable Sky Tyrant's face was gloomy as the white jade table in front of him was smashed into pieces. Bold Jr., how dare you speak such arrogant words to Lingzi? Brother Yi, I invited you with good intentions. It's fine if you don't want to, but you said such vulgar words. This Lingzi is very disappointed. Yao Yueye frowned slightly and his attitude became cold. Although Yao Yuyi looked refined and polite, he was actually an ambitious person. He was only curious about Yi Xian and wanted to bring him along to get to know him better. However, he didn't expect Yi Xian to reject him so rudely. Chapter 1159. However, Yao Yueye had always been magnanimous in front of the world. Naturally, he would not show any anger because of Yi Xian's unreasonable words. This was the opposite of his way of doing things. Although Yao Yueye would not blame Yi Xian, it did not mean that others would let Yi Xian go. Insolent Junior, you killed my 10,000 Spirit Palace's people before. This palace master has yet to settle the score with you, and now you are being rude to Jiu Lingzi. It seems that I can only kill you here today. Venerable Sky Tyrant was furious as he strode towards Yi Xian. Divine light of creation surrounded him as if he was going to attack Yi Xian in the next moment. Sky Tyrant, do you want to break your promise? Although Butian Pavilion Master looked down on Yi Xian, he did not dare to disobey the sect master's order. No matter what, he would not let anyone kill Yi Xian. Venerable Sky Tyrant was no exception. You. Venerable Sky Tyrant's expression changed as his aura suddenly dissipated. One must know that he had received Butian Pavilion Master's 9 Clouds Immortal Ganoderma and promised not to make things difficult for Yi Xian. As a Hall Master, he had to keep his word. If he were to break his promise and spread the news of this matter, he would probably be ridiculed by others. Yao Yueye said indifferently, Senior Sky Tyrant, please don't be angry. Since you have made a promise, our 10,000 Spirit Palace will not break it. Yes, Lingzi. Venerable Sky Tyrant hurriedly bowed, but there was a trace of regret in his eyes. If he had known that this would happen, he wouldn't have agreed to Pavilion Master Butian's request. He originally wanted to kill Yi Xian to curry favor with Yao Yuyi, but now it seemed that it wouldn't be possible. I did promise you that I would not make things difficult for him, but you also promised to bring him to apologize. Since it is an apology, then you should show your sincerity. Now, kneel down and kowtow to apologize. Venerable Sky Tyrant sneered. Although he could not kill Yi Xian, he could make him kneel at Jiu Lingzi's feet and humiliate him. This could be considered as venting for Jiu Lingzi. This. Butian Pavilion Master frowned. He did not expect Venerable Sky Tyrant to make things so difficult for Yi Xian. This also made him look at Yi Xian. Sure enough, he saw a cold smile on Yi Xian's face. How could he kneel and apologize? Kneel or die? Venerable Sky Tyrant roared. Die? You? Rumble. The heavens and earth shook as the ground exploded. Yi Xian took a step forward, and the ground beneath his feet split into 2. An extremely terrifying chaotic holy light spread out. Yi Xian, step back. Don't let your emotions affect your decisions. The Heaven-Mending Pavilion Master's expression greatly changed as he loudly scolded Yi Xian. He never thought that Yi Xian would be so bold as to shout at Venerable Sky Tyrant. He was simply courting death. Good. Venerable Sky Tyrant was so angry that he laughed and said, Heaven-Mending Pavilion Master, you saw it. It's not that I didn't give him a chance, it's that he was seeking his own death. Boom! The holy light of creation Tong Tian pierced through the ground. Venerable Sky Tyrant took a step forward and raised his 5 fingers. It was as if he was holding up the entire sky. The holy light of creation that could explode all living things directly slammed down on Yi Xian. Dodge! Heaven-Mending Pavilion Master couldn't help in time and anxiously roared at Yi Xian. Although Venerable Sky Tyrant is only at the life and death creation realm, he has already grasped the power of life. This person is just a little Saint King. He will die without a doubt. Yao Yueye said indifferently as if he could already see Yi Xian's tragic death. You want to kill me? You're still far from it. Yi Xian laughed maniacally and similarly slammed his palm towards Venerable Sky Tyrant without any intention of dodging. Bang! The two people's attacks instantly collided. However, the next scene shocked everyone on the spot. There were even sounds of people sucking in cold breaths. Yi Xian was sent flying while Venerable Sky Tyrant took 3 steps back. The ground beneath his feet had 3 large pits. How is this possible? Yao Yueye suddenly stood up. The indifferent expression on his face was gone. Instead, he looked at Yi Xian in shock, as if he couldn't believe his eyes. Not only Yao Yueye, but everyone on the spot was stupefied. They couldn't believe that Yi Xian could survive Venerable Sky Tyrant's attack and even force Venerable Sky Tyrant to take 3 steps back. This. Heaven-Mending Pavilion Master muttered as he looked at Yi Xian in shock. He couldn't understand. Yi Xian was only a little Saint King. How could he burst out with such a terrifying cultivation? You're courting death. Venerable Sky Tyrant roared in anger. He didn't expect Yi Xian's battle strength to be so terrifying. Not only did he block his attack, he even forced him to take 3 steps back. Although Venerable Sky Tyrant had the upper hand, his opponent was only a Saint King. He was a whole realm higher than his opponent. This was simply a great humiliation. "Junior, I want you to die." Venerable Sky Tyrant roared in anger. The entire 10,000 Spirit Palace shook violently. It was obvious that he didn't hold back and wanted to use all of his cultivation to kill Yi Xian. Only then would he be able to wash away his humiliation. "There are many people who want me dead. You're far from enough." Yi Xian walked back with large strides. Just now, Venerable Sky Tyrant's attack caused his blood to surge. Fortunately, his body was extremely strong and was able to withstand Venerable Sky Tyrant's attack. Of course, Yi Xian also knew that Venerable Sky Tyrant had just casually attacked and didn't show his true battle strength. However, he wasn't afraid at all. If he wanted to carry out his plan of killing with a borrowed knife, he had to show his own strength. He couldn't let the people of Myriad Spirit Palace look down on him. Only then could they believe his lies. Rumble. Yi Xian unleashed his full strength and burst forth with a might that caused one's heart to palpitate. On the other hand, Venerable Sky Tyrant's expression was as gloomy as water. The divine light of creation was already surging like a tide, and his gaze towards Yi Xian was filled with killing intent. "Stop. Wait." Suddenly, at this critical moment, 2 voices rang out at the same time. It was the Heaven-Mending Pavilion Master and Yao Yueye. Bu Tian Pavilion Master naturally couldn't let Venerable Sky Tyrant kill Yi Xian. Yao Yueye saw Yi Xian's battle strength and had other thoughts in his heart. Naturally, he couldn't let Venerable Sky Tyrant take action. "Lingzi, if I don't kill this person, I won't be able to relieve the hatred in my heart." Venerable Sky Tyrant's face turned red. "Sky Tyrant, are you going to disobey?" Yao Yueye's face turned cold. There was no longer any trace of peace on his face. A blood-red moonlight rose behind him and an extremely demonic aura spread out, giving people a heart-palpitating feeling. Hiss. Venerable Sky Tyrant sucked in a breath of cold air and instantly recovered. He hurriedly bowed to Yao Yueye and said, "Sky Tyrant doesn't dare." "Lingzi, please calm down. Back down." Yao Yueye narrowed his eyes. His voice was as cold as the 9th Lingzi's Supreme Majesty. It made Venerable Sky Tyrant's forehead drip with cold sweat. He hurriedly retreated behind Yao Yueye, not daring to say anything. It wasn't that Venerable Sky Tyrant was afraid of Yao Yueye's cultivation. He was truly afraid of Yao Yueye's identity because a single word from him could make him die without a burial place. "Brother Yi, my 10,000 Spirit Sky Palace will never bully the weak. Venerable Sky Tyrant attacked you in a moment of anger. I hope Brother Yi doesn't mind." Yao Yueye bowed to Yi Xian with an apologetic look on his face. "Heh." Looking at Yao Yueye's hypocritical appearance, Yi Xian sneered and said, "Brother Yao is so powerful. The Lingzi's name is indeed extraordinary." Yao Yueye wasn't angered by Yi Xian's mockery. Instead, he looked at Yi Xian with a smile and said, "My 10,000 Spirit Sky Palace has a clear distinction between seniority and inferiority. We've let Brother Yi see a joke. However, Brother Yi has killed my 10,000 Spirit Sky Palace's people. Although you don't have to kneel and apologize, you still have to give us an explanation, right?" "Explanation?" Yi Xian smiled and said, "All right, then I'll give you an explanation. I'm sure you'll be satisfied with it." Chapter 1160. In fact, Yao Yueye no longer wanted to make things difficult for Yi Xian. He only wanted to give Yi Xian a way out because Yi Xian's battle prowess had shocked him. He even had some unknown thoughts about Yi Xian. "Oh." Yao Yueye pretended to be surprised and said, "Seems like Brother Yi is already prepared." "Humph, Venerable Sky Tyrant coldly snorted and said, either kneel down and apologize or die here. Do you think you can get away with this by pretending to be mysterious? At this moment, everyone's eyes were focused on Yi Xian, and Yi Xian was smiling under everyone's gazes. Gai, Tian, Yuan. Yi Xian softly said, and the three simple words echoed in everyone's ears. What Gai Tian Yuan? What are you talking about? Venerable Sky Tyrant frowned and scolded Yi Xian impatiently. Gai Tian Yuan. Pavilion Master Bu Tian whispered. His originally calm expression gradually changed. In the next moment, he suddenly raised his head and looked at Yi Xian. He was stunned on the spot, and his eyes were filled with shock. Gai Tian Yuan. Yao Yueye seemed to have thought of something. His face instantly turned red as he looked at Yi Xian. Even his voice became extremely trembling. Brother Yi. Could it be that the Gai Tian Yuan you're talking about, is the Gai Tian Yuan from the Tianyuan kingdom? Yao Yueye trembled and said that a single stone stirred up 1,000 ripples. When Yao Yueye's words were thrown into chaos, everyone present cried out in alarm. Venerable Sky Tyrant instantly recalled the legend of Gai Tianyuan, and his originally contemptuous expression instantly turned sluggish. That's right, it's him. Seems like Brother Yao has also heard of this person's legend. Yi Xian smiled and said. Gai Tianyuan, the Tianyuan battle body of the 10th Yin Gathering. He was once a strong contender for the 10th Yin Gathering. Unfortunately, he died at the hands of my Hall Master. The entire Tianyuan kingdom was destroyed along with him. Almost everyone knows about this. Yao Yueye quickly said. Yi Xian said with a strange smile, what if I say he's not dead? Impossible. Suddenly, Venerable Sky Tyrant and Pavilion Master Bu Tian spoke at the same time. They were obviously shocked by Yi Xian's bold words. Venerable Celestial Tyrant refuted, back then, Lord of all Spirits personally killed Gai Tianyuan and buried the Tianyuan kingdom. How could Gai Tianyuan still be alive? Did you see Gai Tianyuan die with your own eyes, or did the Lord of all Spirits tell you? Yi Xian sneered. You. This is something everyone knows, Venerable Sky Tyrant said with an ugly expression. Ignorant. Yi Xian smiled coldly, which made Venerable Sky Tyrant's face turn red. He looked at Yi Xian with eyes filled with terrifying killing intent. Brother Yi Xian, could it be that Gai Tianyuan is still alive? But how do you know? Yao Yueye's eyes moved as he humbly asked Yi Xian for guidance. Sigh. Yi Xian pretended to sigh and slowly began to narrate. 1,000,000 years ago, Great Spirit Sage King said that he had discovered the ruins of the Tianyuan kingdom and led me, Yinhai Sage King, and the others into the Tianyuan kingdom to search for treasures. Who would have thought that Great Spirit Sage King had already been controlled by Gai Tianyuan? As Yi Xian spoke, a half-truth half-lie slipped out of his mouth. As the saying went, if a lie wanted to be believed, only half-truths could deceive others. Yi Xian was mostly telling the truth, but he hid the fact that he had obtained the Chaos Star Master's inheritance. He even framed everyone by telling them that Gai Tianyuan had obtained the Chaos Star Master's inheritance. Moreover, Yi Xian spoke clearly, so everyone had no choice but to believe him. You mean that Gai Tianyuan didn't die back then, but a wisp of his soul was trapped in the Tianyuan kingdom. Not only did he escape, but he also obtained the Chaos Star Master's inheritance. Yao Yueye pretended to be calm, but if one were to look closely, they would notice that his lips were trembling. It was obvious that his heart was in turmoil. That's right. Yi Xian nodded. Brother Yi, it's not that I'm doubting you, but since Gai Tianyuan killed Yinhai Holy King and the others, why didn't he kill you? Even if Gai Tianyuan was only left with a wisp of his soul, if he wanted to kill you, you wouldn't be able to escape. Yao Yueye was indeed smart and directly pointed out the crux of the matter. He looked at Yi Xian with a puzzled expression, hoping to see if Yi Xian was lying. Unfortunately, Yi Xian's expression was extremely sincere, and he didn't seem to be panicking in the slightest. He didn't seem to be a liar at all, which caused Yao Yueye to frown. Could it be that what he said was true? I'm not talented, but I have a life-saving method. It was thanks to this method that I was able to escape from Gai Tianyuan's evil hands. Yi Xian pretended to sigh. After hearing Yi Xian's words, Yao Yueye already believed most of it. After all, everyone had their own trump cards, so Yi Xian's explanation was reasonable. Why should we believe you? Venerable Sky Tyrant said coldly. Ha! Yi Xian laughed loudly and said, it's up to you whether you believe me or not. After all, telling you this secret won't benefit me in any way. However, since I killed your 10,000 spirit heavenly palaces people, I'll use this secret as compensation. Of course, I also have my own selfish motives. After all, only I know the secret that Gai Tianyuan is still alive. He definitely wants to kill me to silence me, so that's why I'm telling you this secret. As Yi Xian's words fell, Yao Yueye was already 90% convinced. Just as Yi Xian said, this secret wouldn't benefit him in any way. The safest way was to tell the 10,000 spirit heavenly palace. Thank you for telling me, Brother Yi. You've helped my 10,000 spirit heavenly palace a lot. Yao Yueye bowed towards Yi Xian and thanked him repeatedly. This time, Yao Yueye truly wanted to thank Yi Xian. He definitely didn't have any false intentions. This information was too important to him, and it was a huge opportunity. Not to mention that Gai Tianyuan was an enemy of the 10,000 spirit heavenly palace, just the Chaos Star Master inheritance in his hands was extremely important. If Yao Yueye could obtain the Chaos Star Master inheritance, even if he couldn't become the next Yuanhui's strongest, it would still be an excellent choice for him to become this Yuanhui's Chaos Star Master. Yao Yueye almost completely believed Yi Xian. Not only did Yi Xian tell him this secret, but he also knew about Gai Tianyuan. Yao Yueye was the 9th spirit son of the 10,000 spirit heavenly palace. As a spirit son, he had great authority and knew many secrets that others didn't know. And Yao Yueye just so happened to know one secret. Back then, the 10,000 spirit heavenly lord had personally stepped into the Tianyuan kingdom to find the Chaos Star Master inheritance. Unfortunately, the 10,000 spirit heavenly lord returned empty-handed. However, Yao Yueye remembered this matter in his heart. Now that he combined it with Yi Xian's words, Yao Yueye was absolutely certain that Gai Tianyuan was definitely still alive and had obtained the Chaos Star Master inheritance. Brother Yi, you've helped my 10,000 spirit heavenly palace a lot. My 10,000 spirit heavenly palace definitely won't mistreat you. Just tell me what you want. My 10,000 spirit heavenly palace will definitely fulfill your wish. Yao Yueye was full of smiles. I heard that the 10,000 spirit palace in the 10,000 spirit palace has a 10,000 spirit treasury. I want to go in and take a look. I wonder if Brother Yao will allow me to go in and take a look. As the saying went, it would be a waste if he didn't take it. Yi Xian naturally had to accept benefits that were delivered to his doorstep. Chapter 1161. Venerable Sky Tyrant's expression changed as he shouted at Yi Xian, "How dare you? How can you enter the myriad spirit treasury?" There were too many treasures in the myriad spirit treasury. Even if he wanted to enter, he had to ask for permission from the main palace. It's fine. Since Brother Yi wants to enter, this spiritual son can let Brother Yi choose 3 treasures. This can be considered my myriad spirit heavenly palace's sincerity to Brother Yi. Yao Yueye smiled. Spiritual son, you can't. The myriad spirit treasury, Venerable Sky Tyrant anxiously tried to dissuade him, but before he could finish, Yao Yueye's expression turned cold. Are you going to disobey this spiritual son's orders? I don't dare. Venerable Sky Tyrant's mind trembled as he hurriedly bowed towards Yao Yueye. His entire body was filled with fear. I don't think you have the guts. Yao Yueye coldly snorted before turning to look at Yi Xian with a smile. Brother Yi Xian and I feel like old friends at first sight. I would like to invite Brother Yi Xian to stay here for a few days. I wonder if Brother Yi would do me the honor. Looking at Yao Yueye's sincere appearance, Yi Xian sneered in his heart. It was clear that the other party was still worried about him and wanted him to stay. If he was lying, the other party would definitely not let him go. Now, even if he wanted to leave, Yao Yueye would not let him go. However, Yi Xian was already prepared because he'd already expected this. Moreover, he didn't want to leave at all. After all, he still needed the 10,000 spirit palace to accomplish this. Then this Yi will be disturbing your sect. Yi Xian smiled. Yi Xian, you. Pavilion Master Butian's face was ashen. He did not expect Yi Xian to know such a big secret and even told it to Yao Yueye. Damn brat, why didn't you tell me this earlier? This is related to the inheritance of the Primal Chaos Star Masters. Pavilion Master Butian's chest was about to explode. He hated Yi Xian to the extreme. Pavilion Master Butian, you are a guest from afar, so please stay here for a few days. Venerable Sky Tyrant coldly looked at Butian Pavilion Master. The other elders also slowly surrounded him. A sharp aura enveloped Butian Pavilion Master's body. Clearly, Gai Tianyuan was still alive, and he even had the inheritance of a Chaos Star Master. This secret could not be leaked, and the All Spirits Palace could not let the Heaven-Mending Pavilion Master leave now. Naturally, Butian Pavilion Master also knew this. He did not want to put up a stubborn resistance. After all, he was not Sky Tyrant Venerable's opponent. Moreover, this was his territory. Even if he fought to the death, he would not be able to escape. Alright, then this Pavilion Master will stay here for a few days. Pavilion Master Butian said gloomily. Men, bring Brother Yi to the Myriad Spirits Treasury, Yao Yueye ordered. Thank you, Brother Yao. Yi Xian faintly smiled and left the 10,000 Spirits Palace under the guidance of a guard. The Butian Pavilion Master also left under the guidance of another guard. The entire 10,000 Spirits Palace suddenly became quiet. Close the door. As Yi Xian and Butian Pavilion Master left, the smile on Yao Yueye's face disappeared. He strode to the main seat and sat down. The door of the 10,000 Spirits Palace also closed with a rumble. I do not wish for anyone else to know about today's secret. Everyone here is a disciple of my 10,000 Spirits Palace. If anyone spreads this news, then don't blame this spirit for being merciless. Yao Yueye no longer had a peaceful expression. A blood moon rose behind him, and an extremely terrifying chill spread out. Venerable Sky Tyrant and the others bowed to the side to express their loyalty. Congratulations, Spirit. As long as you can obtain the inheritance of a Chaos Star Master, your future will be limitless. Venerable Sky Tyrant bowed. Sky Tyrant, this spirit knows that you have always wanted to return to the Grand Central Territory. I can promise you that as long as you help me with this matter, you will be this spirit's follower from now on. Not only will you be able to return to the Grand Central Territory, but if I become a Chaos Star Master in the future, I will not forget your contribution today, Yao Yueye said majestically. Thank you, Spirit. I will never dare to betray you. Otherwise, I will be destroyed by the heavens. Venerable Sky Tyrant expressed his loyalty and repeatedly said words of gratitude. We pledge our lives to follow you, Spirit. Rumble. All the elders and disciples knelt down to express their loyalty. This caused Yao Yueye to smile as a trace of satisfaction flashed through his eyes. Spirit, since we already know that Gai Tianyuan is still alive, how do we find him? Venerable Sky Tyrant asked. Humph, Yao Yueye sneered, Gai Tianyuan is only left with a wisp of his soul, and his cultivation is only at the creation realm at most. Moreover, he can't even unleash the true cultivation of the creation realm. If I'm not wrong, he urgently needs a suitable body. Spirit, you mean? Venerable Sky Tyrant said hesitantly. Pass down this spirit's decree. Tell all the disciples of the Myriad Spirit Palace to mobilize everyone to search for the man born on the first day of the first month of the first lunar month. If you find this person, bring him to the Myriad Spirit Palace. This spirit will also reward you. Remember, do not alert the enemy. Do not attract the attention of the outside world. Yao Yueye said in a deep voice. Yes. Venerable Sky Tyrant bowed. However, he frowned and looked at Yao Yueye. Spirit, aren't you afraid that Yi Xian is lying to us? Lying? Yao Yueye said with a chilling smile, he wouldn't dare. If he really deceived this spiritual son, then he will die in this spiritual son's hands and regret being born into this world. You all can go. Yao Yueye waved his hand. Venerable Sky Tyrant hurriedly called the elders and disciples to leave the Myriad Spirit Palace. They were obviously following Yao Yueye's orders to search for the man born on the first day of the first lunar month of the first lunar month. Following Venerable Sky Tyrant's departure, Yao Yueye's face was rosy and bewitching. A strange smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Gai Tianyuan, I didn't expect you to still be alive. Originally, this spirit came to the Great Southern Dou region to enter the Tianyuan Kingdom to search for the inheritance of the Chaos Star Master. It seems that this is an opportunity bestowed upon me by the heavens. Yao Yueye whispered with a strange smile. On the other side. Myriad Spirit Treasury. The bronze door was old and mottled. As the door rumbled open, Yi Xian walked in with a smile on his face. He also entered the Myriad Spirit Treasury. Yi Xian wasn't worried at all whether the Myriad Spirit Palace could find Gai Tianyuan. He believed that whether it was Yao Yueye or Venerable Sky Tyrant, they would definitely have a way to find Gai Tianyuan. The 10,000 Spirit Heavenly Palace was in charge of the 10th Yuan Hui. Their power and background were definitely not something that Yi Xian could imagine. It was almost impossible for Yi Xian to find Gai Tianyuan, but when it came to the 10,000 Spirit Palace, this kind of impossibility became possible. What Yi Xian needed to do now was to happily choose the treasures he wanted in the Myriad Spirit Treasury and wait for Gai Tianyuan to appear. Then, he would carry out the next step of his plan. Chapter 1162. Myriad Spirit Treasury. Yi Xian's eyes were dazzling and colorful. Yi Xian's eyes had already narrowed from the piercing light of the treasures. The Myriad Spirit Treasury wasn't big, but the treasures it contained were all precious treasures. 5-colored mysterious stone. Blue water crystal. 9-flame blue water pearl. TSK, TSK, TSK. Yi Xian looked around as he walked. He pursed his lips, and his eyes were filled with greed. It had to be said that the Myriad Spirit Treasury was full of good stuff. Any one of them could attract people to fight for it. Whether it was elixirs, spiritual weapons, cultivation techniques, or spiritual items, it could be said that it had everything. Suddenly, Yi Xian's eyes froze for a moment. An earthen yellow bead entered his line of sight, causing Yi Xian to quickly step forward and take the earthen yellow spirit bead in his hand. Chaos Earth Elemental Bead? Yi Xian was stunned. He never thought that he would find a Chaos Earth Elemental Bead in the Myriad Spirit Treasury. It was one of the necessary materials to cultivate the outer body incarnation. In order to cultivate the outer body incarnation, one must gather the Chaos 5 Elemental Beads. Yi Xian was preparing for this, but he didn't expect to find the Earth Elemental Bead so easily. I've searched high and low for it, only to find it by chance. Yi Xian smiled with satisfaction. He then continued to search in the Myriad Spirit Treasury to see if he could find the other 5 elemental beads. Unfortunately, Yi Xian didn't find any other 5 elemental beads after walking through the entire Myriad Spirit Treasury. It was obvious that he was extremely lucky to find the Earth Elemental Bead. Let me take 3 treasures out. Yi Xian rubbed his chin as he pondered. A sneer appeared on the corner of his mouth. It was obvious that he wanted to take all the treasures in the myriad spirit treasury for himself. However, Yi Xian also knew that if he took all the treasures, Yao Yueye and Venerable Sky Tyrant wouldn't agree to it. There would definitely be a dispute. This myriad spirit treasury is indeed rich. There are even items to assist in the cultivation of an avatar. As long as I can find the other 4-5 elemental beads, I will be able to cultivate an avatar. But I don't need to rush. I'll leave the treasures here for now. After I kill Gai Tianyuan, I'll take them all. Yi Xian murmured to himself. He temporarily gave up on the idea of looting the 10,000 spirits treasury. Brother Yi, have you picked the treasure you want? Suddenly, Yao Yue's voice came from outside the treasury, causing Yi Xian to come back to his senses. He took the primal earth elemental bead and headed outside. Outside the 1,000 spirits treasury. Yao Yuyi stood with his hands behind his back, clearly waiting for Yi Xian to come out of the 10,000 spirit treasury. His whole person once again became cultured and refined, with a refined smile on his face. Thank you for your generosity, Brother Yao. Yi Xian strode out of the 1,000 spirits treasury with a similar smile on his face. However, when Yao Yueye saw the earth elemental bead in Yi Xian's hand, his eyes narrowed slightly before returning to normal. Brother Yi has good eyesight. This primal earth elemental bead is a rare treasure. I didn't expect Yi Xian to recognize it. Yao Yueye smiled. Brother Yao is too kind. It's just that my cultivation method is compatible with this bead, so I'll have to trouble Brother Yao. Yi Xian laughed. It's fine, it's fine. However, Brother Yi only wants this treasure. I promise to let you pick any 3. Yao Yueye said with a deeper meaning. One shouldn't be too greedy. This earth elemental bead is enough. This Yi is already satisfied. How would I dare to ask for more? Yi Xian smiled. Good, good, good. I didn't misjudge you. Brother Yi is indeed an outstanding person. Yao Yueye complimented. Brother Yi, we feel like old friends today. Why don't we have a drink? Firstly, I want to be friends with you. Secondly, it's about Gai Tianyuan. Yao Yueye invited. I have the same intention. Yi Xian naturally knew that Yao Yueye was still worried about him. He naturally agreed and the two left side by side. One had to admit that the 10,000 Spirits Palace was indeed worthy of being the orthodoxy in charge of the 10th Yuan Hui. Even this small sub-palace had an extremely terrifying foundation. In just a short year, 4 men born on the first day of the first lunar month were found by the 10,000 Spirits Palace. Venerable Sky Tyrant also brought these 4 men back to the 10,000 Spirits Palace. After a year of getting along, Yao Yueye and Yi Xian had already become brothers. They would sit down and discuss cultivation almost every day. In the beginning, Yao Yueye only wanted to probe Yi Xian's background and ask about Gai Tianyuan. However, as the two of them got closer, Yao Yueye was surprised to find that although Yi Xian had a mortal body, Yi Xian's knowledge of cultivation was definitely not below his. Later on, Yao Yueye really began to admire Yi Xian. He even wanted to take him under his wing. He even promised Yi Xian many benefits. Unfortunately, Yi Xian tactfully refused. Yao Yueye did not force him either. He believed that as long as he gradually revealed his cultivation and foundation, Yi Xian would definitely submit to him. During this period, Yi Xian and Yao Yueye naturally sparred for a while. However, Yi Xian was defeated every time. Of course, Yi Xian did not use his full strength. He only displayed the strength of his physical body. This was only to make Yao Yueye lower his guard. However, Yi Xian also knew that Yao Yueye was also holding back. Yao Yueye's Yao Yueye combat body sect gave him a sense of danger. Obviously, this was where Yao Yueye was truly terrifying. 10,000 Spirit Sky Palace. Ling Zi, I've brought back the people you wanted. Venerable Sky Tyrant strode into the 10,000 Spirit Sub-Palace. Behind him were 4 young men. There were mortals and cultivators among them. The highest cultivation was in the minor saint realm. You were all born on the first day of the first month of the first year. Yao Yueye sat on the main seat and looked down at the 4 people. The 4 people trembled and quickly knelt on the ground to kowtow to Yao Yueye. We were born on the first day of the first month of the first year. The 4 people trembled as they spoke. Good, very good. Yao Yueye clapped his hands and laughed. However, in the next moment, his smile disappeared. A ray of demonic blood light flashed across his eyes. Sky Tyrant, kill 3 of them for me. Yao Yueye ordered coldly. Yes, Ling Zi. Venerable Sky Tyrant was startled at first, but he still obeyed Yao Yueye's order and slapped 3 of them. As the 4 people screamed in horror, 3 of them were instantly smashed into a bloody mist. Ah! The one who survived screamed in fear, and his entire body went limp on the ground. Yi Xian had seen many people kill people. Naturally, he didn't feel anything. However, he was curious. What was Yao Yueye trying to do? Brother Yi, you must be very curious. Why did I kill these 3 people? Yao Yueye smiled and looked at Yi Xian. I am indeed curious. However, I think it should be related to Gai Tianyuan, right? Yi Xian said. Brother Yi is indeed smart. It is related to Gai Tianyuan. Yao Yueye smiled elegantly and said, Gai Tianyuan is only left with a wisp of his soul. He must find a suitable body. He had the heavenly origin combat body when he was alive. The only body that could be compatible with him is someone born on the first day of the first month of the first year. Chapter 1163. I've killed 3 of them, and now there's only 1 left. I'll spread the news of this person to the outside world, and Gai Tianyuan will definitely come to check it out. When that time comes, Gai Tianyuan will die. Brother Yi, you won't have to worry about Gai Tianyuan killing you, Yao Yueye said with a gentle smile. Brother Yao is indeed powerful. I admire you, Yi Xian exclaimed. At this moment, Yi Xian was very glad that his plan had succeeded. It was unrealistic for him to find these 4 people. Only the power of the All-Spirit Heavenly Palace could accomplish this. Sky Tyrant, spread the news that you're taking in a disciple from the first year of the first lunar month. I'm sure Gai Tianyuan will come soon, right? Ha ha ha, Yao Yueye laughed loudly. Don't worry, Lingzi. As long as Gai Tianyuan dares to come, he'll die without a burial place, Venerable Sky Tyrant said with a sinister smile. Brother Yao, Gai Tianyuan has the heavenly origin battle body after all, and he's someone from the same era as the Lord of all spirits. I'm afraid. Yi Xian pretended to be worried. Don't worry, Brother Yi. This all-spirit heavenly palace is protected by the Annihilation Formation. Moreover, Sky Tyrant and I are not to be trifled with. He's just a remnant soul. As long as he comes, he won't be able to escape, Yao Yueye said with certainty. Good, I'll wait for your good news, Yi Xian said with a smile. Gai Tianyuan had been very sullen during this period, so sullen that he was about to go crazy. First, Yi Xian took the inheritance of the Chaos Star Master, and then he was hunted down by Yi Xian. He finally escaped Yi Xian's evil hands and wanted to rush back to the holy land of Taichu to take back his body, but Yi Xian got there first and destroyed his body. Gai Tianyuan had never hated anyone so much, not even the Lord of all spirits. He now wanted to eat Yi Xian's flesh and drink Yi Xian's blood. However, he knew that he had to find a suitable body before he could settle the score with Yi Xian. He also had to take back the Chaos Star Master's inheritance. Unfortunately, there were too few bodies that could fit him. Only those born on the first day of the first month of the first lunar month could bear his remnant soul and transform it into the heavenly origin battle body. However, the Nandu territory was too vast. Finding a person born on the first day of the first month of the first year was like finding a needle in a haystack. If he wanted to find such a body by himself, it would take a very long time. However, a piece of news shook Gai Tianyuan's spirits. Venerable Sky Tyrant had said that he had found a disciple who was born on the first day of the first month of the first month of the first lunar year. This disciple had extreme yang energy and was going to take him in as his last disciple. When Gai Tianyuan received the news, he was immediately overjoyed. However, as he calmed down, he couldn't help but have great doubts in his heart. He had been looking for a physical body, but at this moment, the Myriad Spirits Palace sent him a message. Could this be a trap? Does Yi Xian dare to reveal my identity to the Myriad Spirits Palace? Gai Tianyuan muttered gloomily. Impossible. He shouldn't have the guts to do that. The inheritance of the Chaos Star Master is in his hands, and he also has 3 supreme powers. If he cooperates with the 10,000 Spirit Sky Palace, he'll be digging his own grave. Gai Tianyuan denied his own guess. Moreover, he should know that if he dares to reveal my identity, I will also reveal his secret to the public. This will be a lose-lose situation for both of us, Gai Tianyuan said in a low voice. Unfortunately, Gai Tianyuan didn't expect Yi Xian to do so. Furthermore, he had mixed up the truth and put all the blame on Gai Tianyuan. Of course, the reason Yi Xian dared to do so was because he knew that Gai Tianyuan wouldn't reveal his secret to the public until he was at his wit's end. After all, he had the Chaos Star Master's inheritance, and Gai Tianyuan didn't want this news to spread. He wanted to take back the inheritance himself. Of course, Gai Tianyuan was even more interested in Yi Xian's 3 supreme powers. In his opinion, Yi Xian was a moving treasure trove. Everyone had a greedy heart, let alone Gai Tianyuan. Right now, he only wanted to find a body that was compatible with him, then kill Yi Xian in one fell swoop and take all of Yi Xian's fortune for himself. Yi Xian had expected this, which was why he had taken the risk to kill Gai Tianyuan. As the saying went, the one who struck first had the advantage. As long as he could kill Gai Tianyuan immediately, all the hidden threats would be eliminated. Whether it's a trap or not, I have to go to the Myriad Spirits Palace. Gai Tianyuan's eyes narrowed as he turned into a streak of black light and rushed toward the Myriad Spirits Palace. What Gai Tianyuan didn't know was that the Myriad Spirits Palace had already set up an inescapable trap, waiting for him to step in. The moon was bright and there were few stars. The waning moon hung high in the sky, and the unchanging stars rotated in the chaotic universe. A ray of moonlight shone down, illuminating the entire Myriad Spirits Palace. Gai Tianyuan passed through as if there was no one around. He dodged the many guards and shuttled through the clouds like a ghost. The silhouette of the Myriad Spirits Palace also entered his eyes. Gai Tianyuan lived up to his name as someone from the same era as the Myriad Spirits Palace Lord. Even though he was only a wisp of his soul, he could travel through the void without anyone sensing his presence. Yang energy, what dense yang energy! The Myriad Spirits Palace really does have the body I want. Gai Tianyuan's face was filled with excitement. He was already standing outside the All Spirits Palace. He looked into the palace and indeed saw a person born in the first year of the Great Era meditating in the palace. Gai Tianyuan took a step forward and then retreated. A trace of hesitation flashed across his eyes. It was as if there was a voice in the unseen world telling him that if he dared to enter the Myriad Spirits Palace, he would definitely suffer an unimaginable calamity. The heavenly origin battle body was extremely sensitive to danger. Gai Tianyuan trusted his senses very much. Although he didn't sense any killing intent, the feeling of danger made him stop in his tracks. Oh no, this is a trap. Gai Tianyuan's expression changed. He didn't have to trust his senses, but he absolutely trusted his heavenly origin battle body. The heavenly origin battle body's ability to foresee danger had saved his life countless times. Go! Gai Tianyuan didn't have the time to think about what went wrong. He only felt that danger was getting closer and closer, and it made his heart grow cold. Heavenly origin turned into light, and myriad arts infinite. Gai Tianyuan suddenly turned into a wisp of black smoke and was about to escape. But at that moment, the ground beneath Gai Tianyuan's feet exploded with resplendent spiritual light. Terrifying runes appeared and instantly sealed off this part of the world. Senior Tianyuan, since you're already here, why don't you stay? Rumble. In all directions, a large number of figures walked out of the void. They were all from the myriad spirits' palace. There were tens of thousands of them, and the weakest among them was a minor saint. Obviously, they wanted to kill Gai Tianyuan. Chapter 1164. Above the firmament, in the void. Yao Yueya looked down at Gai Tianyuan. Even though he was a shrewd person, when he saw Gai Tianyuan appear before him, an extremely demonic excitement appeared on his face. Gai Tianyuan, hand over the inheritance of the Chaos Star Master. Venerable Sky Tyrant strode over with the divine saber in his hand. His holy light of creation covered the sky as his murderous intent locked onto Gai Tianyuan. Clearly, Venerable Sky Tyrant didn't dare to be careless when facing someone from the same era as the Master of all spirits, even if Gai Tianyuan was just a remnant soul. Sealing the sky and trapping the earth, catching a turtle in a jar. Gai Tianyuan's aura was terrifyingly gloomy. Wisps of black smoke rose from his body as he looked around with rage. His fierce eyes had turned blood red. Yi Xian, you little brat, how dare you harm me? Gai Tianyuan roared in anger as he tried to find Yi Xian. At this moment, he realized that Yi Xian must have told the Myriad Spirit Palace about his identity. This was simply a trap to kill him. Unfortunately, it was too late for Gai Tianyuan to find out the truth. Under the seal of the Grand Annihilation Formation, he couldn't escape at all. Moreover, Venerable Sky Tyrant had already locked onto him. It seems that Yi Xian was telling the truth. The inheritance of the Chaos Star Master is indeed in your hands, Yao Yueya said eerily as he looked at Gai Tianyuan with an extremely cold murderous gaze. Yi Xian, you little bastard, get out here. Gai Tianyuan's chest was about to explode. He didn't need to think too deeply to understand that this was Yi Xian's scheme. He wanted to frame him and use the Myriad Spirit Palace to kill him. Ha ha ha. A soft laugh sounded as Yi Xian slowly walked out of the Myriad Spirit Palace. When he arrived in front of Yao Yueya, he smiled and looked at Gai Tianyuan. Gai Tianyuan, don't be so angry. I was also forced into a corner. If you didn't want to kill me, why would I have to tell the Myriad Spirit Palace about your identity? However, I have to give you a piece of advice. Although the inheritance of a Chaos Star Master is good, it's only for the virtuous. I think only Jiu Lingzi has the qualifications to become a Chaos Star Master. As long as you hand over the inheritance, Jiu Lingzi might spare your life. Yi Xian engaged in a verbal battle, not allowing Gai Tianyuan to interrupt. He directly threw a bucket of shit on his head. You despicable and shameless little thief. I will kill you, kill you. After being tricked by Yi Xian again, Gai Tianyuan was so angry that his chest was about to explode. He wanted nothing more than to cut Yi Xian into 1,000 pieces. Even that wouldn't be enough to appease the hatred in his heart. Gai Tianyuan, hand over the Chaos Star Master's inheritance or die. Venerable Sky Tyrant strode towards Gai Tianyuan. His holy light of creation shook the heavens and earth. The divine saber in his hand was already raised, and a saber ray that could destroy everything was condensing. Wait. I have something to say. In the face of Venerable Sky Tyrant's murderous intent, Gai Tianyuan instantly calmed down. He looked at Yi Xian with a look that said he wanted to die together with him. Since Yi Xian dared to expose his identity, there was nothing for him to worry about. He would definitely drag Yi Xian down with him. Yi Xian's expression changed slightly, but he calmed down in an instant. Instead, a mocking smile appeared on his face. He had already expected that Gai Tianyuan wouldn't sit still and wait for death. However, Yi Xian wasn't someone to be trifled with either. Gai Tianyuan, what else do you have to say? Yao Yueye frowned slightly. Gai Tianyuan smiled malevolently and pointed at Yi Xian. The Chaos Star Master's inheritance is in his hands. Moreover, it's not just the Chaos Star Master's inheritance. He also cultivates 3 supreme powers at the same time. This little thief is framing me. Silence. Silence. A deathly silence. When Gai Tianyuan's words fell, the entire area became silent. Everyone's gaze was focused on Yi Xian. However, Yi Xian's face was calm, and a mocking smile hung on his face. Gai Tianyuan, do you think this spirit is a fool? Suddenly, Yao Yue's expression turned cold. He looked at Gai Tianyuan with disappointment. Isn't your method of framing someone a little too despicable? Do you think this spirit will believe you? Yao Yue raged. It wasn't just Yao Yue who didn't believe him. The tens of thousands of cultivators present didn't believe him either. The reason was simple. Yi Xian was just a mortal. How could he compete with Gai Tianyuan for the Chaos Star Master's inheritance? This was the most important question. If Gai Tianyuan had only said that Yi Xian had obtained the Chaos Star Master's inheritance, Yao Yue and the others might still be suspicious of Yi Xian. However, Gai Tianyuan said that Yi Xian cultivated 3 supreme powers. This was simply a fantasy. One had to know that the 12 supreme powers couldn't be cultivated at the same time. How could Yi Xian cultivate 3 at the same time? Even if Yi Xian really cultivated 3 supreme powers, it meant that the 3 supreme orthodoxies were inextricably linked to him. However, Yi Xian was just a mortal. This was simply impossible. Therefore, Yao Yue was extremely certain that Gai Tianyuan was framing Yi Xian. You ignorant juniors. Everything I said is true. You're just being used by him. Gai Tianyuan roared angrily. Seeing Gai Tianyuan's flustered and exasperated appearance, Yao Yue was slightly startled. He felt that Gai Tianyuan didn't seem to be lying. This made him look at Yi Xian in confusion. Brother Yao, Gai Tianyuan is right. Not only did I obtain the Chaos Star Master's inheritance, but I also cultivate 3 supreme powers at the same time. Yi Xian laughed self-deprecatingly and cupped his hands at Yao Yue. Humans were like that. The more you denied something, the more suspicious the other party would be. If you helplessly admitted it, the other party's suspicions would disappear. Yi Xian's schemes were quite high, and he could definitely be considered a scheming person. He knew that if he were to frantically explain and deny it, it would instead cause Yao Yuyi to be suspicious. It would be better to go with the flow and admit it. Only then would he be able to dispel the doubts in the other party's heart. Sure enough, in the next moment, Yao Yue's suspicions disappeared. Instead, he said apologetically, Brother Yi, you must be joking. How could I possibly suspect you? Yao Yue suddenly turned around and angrily rebuked Gai Tianyuan with a cold expression. Gai Tianyuan, I originally thought that you were a top figure, but now it seems that you're just a so-so. If you know what's good for you, hand over the Chaos Star Master's inheritance. Otherwise, I'll destroy your soul today. Yi Xian, you shameless thief who inverts right and wrong. Gai Tianyuan's chest was about to explode. He finally realized that he was in a passive position. Although what he said was the truth, in everyone's eyes, he was actually lying. Gai Tianyuan knew that he couldn't explain it clearly. The only thing he could do now was to quickly leave this place. Otherwise, he would really die here today. Sky Tyrant, do it! Yao Yue shouted coldly. Gai Tianyuan, today is the day you die. Rumble. Venerable Sky Tyrant suddenly attacked. His divine saber split the heavens and earth. The saber gleam seemed to be able to split the heavens and earth. It brought with it a will that could suppress all things as it slashed towards Gai Tianyuan. You dare! Gai Tianyuan angrily roared. A wisp of his remnant soul erupted into a terrifying black smoke as he frantically tried to escape. Chapter 1165. A dragon in the shallows would be teased by shrimps, and a tiger in the plains would be bullied by dogs. This sentence fully explained Gai Tianyuan's current situation. If he had his peak cultivation back then, he would be able to kill Venerable Sky Tyrant with a slap. However, he was only left with a wisp of remnant soul and was no match for Venerable Sky Tyrant. Where do you think you're going? Venerable Sky Tyrant roared. The divine saber in his hand emitted thousands of saber rays that instantly filled the space, leaving Gai Tianyuan nowhere to hide. Chi chi chi. Saber light filled the sky and the void collapsed. Venerable Sky Tyrant was definitely a terrifying figure. Don't be fooled by his submissive behavior in front of Yao Yueya. When he displayed the terrifying cultivation of the manifestation realm, it simply made people feel extreme fear. Junior, you've gone too far. Gai Tianyuan was extremely aggrieved. He was an outstanding figure of his generation, but now he was being chased by a junior of the creation realm. This was a great humiliation for him. Buzz! Venerable Sky Tyrant's saber shattered Gai Tianyuan's remnant soul. However, Gai Tianyuan was indeed a figure of the same generation as the Lord of all Spirits. Although his remnant soul was a little faint, he didn't really die under Venerable Sky Tyrant's saber. Kill him! With a wave of Yao Yueya's hand, the 8 elders all moved. All of them were 9 heaven saint kings, and they were the pillars of the myriad spirit palace. They all exploded with murderous intent as they charged towards Gai Tianyuan. Demon moon in the sky. Boom boom boom. A blood-red crescent moon rose behind Yao Yueya. He was a 9 heaven saint king. At this moment, under the night sky, his demon moon combat body exploded with unimaginable power. His aura was terrifying to the extreme and was not inferior to Venerable Sky Tyrant's. Kill! Yao Yueya took a step forward and formed a shield with his hands. A crescent moon condensed in his hands and blasted towards Gai Tianyuan. The crescent moon exploded in the space, and the sound of ghosts crying and gods howling could be heard from all directions. What a demon moon combat body! Yi Xian glanced to the side as his heart trembled to the extreme. He never thought that Yao Yueya's demon moon battle body would be so terrifying. Under the cover of the moonlight, the power that erupted from it was actually comparable to that of Venerable Sky Tyrant. It seems that this is the horror of battle constitutions. Yi Xian rubbed his chin in surprise. He retreated to the side and quietly watched the people from the All Spirits Palace kill Gai Tianyuan. What Yi Xian wanted to do was to sit on top of the mountain and watch the tigers fight. Yi Xian hoped that both sides would suffer. Only then would he be able to take advantage of the situation. It had to be said that Gai Tianyuan was indeed remarkable. Even though he was only left with a wisp of his soul, he was still able to survive the bombardment of the myriad spirit palace. However, Gai Tianyuan wasn't having a good time either. His remnant soul was growing fainter and fainter. If this continued, he would die. Ah! Gai Tianyuan roared madly. A wisp of his soul remnant shone with a dazzling golden light. That wisp of Tianyuan's battle prowess burst forth, forcing all the people besieging him back. You damn juniors! You forced me to do this! Gai Tianyuan roared madly. A wisp of his soul remnant shone brightly. He suddenly turned into a golden light and shot into the forehead of a great saint. The great saint howled in pain as blood flowed out of his 7 orifices. It was as if he had suffered an unimaginable calamity. Everyone, be careful. He's trying to possess someone. Venerable Sky Tyrant's expression changed drastically as he warned the people from the All Spirits Palace. Rumble. The heavens and earth cracked as the divine light of creation shone. Gai Tianyuan possessed the great saint. At this moment, his aura was rising to the extreme. In an instant, he burst forth with the power of the creation realm. Nirvana realm? He actually burst forth with the power of the Nirvana realm? Venerable Sky Tyrant roared in shock as he retreated continuously. His face was filled with extreme fear. The three realms of creation. The first realm, life and death. The second realm, Nirvana realm. The third realm, origin returning realm. At this moment, Gai Tianyuan was at his wit's end. He directly possessed the body of a great saint and burst forth with all his potential, allowing him to step into the Nirvana realm in one fell swoop. Are you crazy? You dare to advance to the Nirvana realm without a compatible body? You'll die if you do this. Yao Yueye was extremely familiar with the heavenly Yuan battle physique. When he saw Gai Tianyuan's crazy actions, he screamed in horror. Since you want me to die, then I'll drag you down with me. Gai Tianyuan was really going all out. He was forced to do this because he would only die if he continued to be besieged. He had no choice but to choose the path of mutual destruction. All of you despicable juniors, go to hell. Rumble. Gai Tianyuan's battle strength shook the heavens and earth. When Gai Tianyuan burst forth with the power of the Nirvana realm, he charged towards the people from the All-Spirits Palace like a mad beast. Bang! The Nirvana realm of creation was indeed terrifying. Gai Tianyuan smashed a nine-heaven Saint King into pieces with a single slap. Every time he blasted out, the Nirvana divine light would destroy the disciples of the All-Spirits Palace. Stop him! Yao Yueye roared. The demon moon battle physique was raised to the extreme. A terrifying blood-red moonlight bloomed at the extreme. When he slapped out, a crescent moon seal was formed and blasted towards Gai Tianyuan. Bang! Nirvana of 10,000 laws, destroy all things. Gai Tianyuan blasted out a punch. The Nirvana divine light destroyed everything and instantly shattered the crescent moon seal. Yao Yueye spat out blood and was sent flying backwards. Slash! Venerable Sky Tyrant roared. The divine saber in his hand slashed across the sky. The resplendent saber light was like an upside-down galaxy as it slashed towards Gai Tianyuan with terrifying power. Clang! Kacha! Gai Tianyuan blasted out a punch that could destroy all things. The sound of metal breaking could be heard. The divine saber in Venerable Sky Tyrant's hand had been broken into 4 pieces. His entire body was sent flying by Gai Tianyuan's punch. Several of his ribs were broken. Palace Master. Spiritual Son. The people of the All-Spirits Palace roared in shock. Gai Tianyuan was like an unstoppable force as he rushed towards the All-Spirits Palace. He did not kill Venerable Sky Tyrant and Yao Yueye immediately. Stop him. Don't let him snatch the firstborn. Suddenly, Yao Yueye roared anxiously. Blood kept flowing out of his mouth. He struggled to get up and stop Gai Tianyuan. Obviously, Gai Tianyuan had taken over the body of a great sage and unleashed all of his potential to step into the Nirvana realm. But in doing so, his soul would explode and he would die, because this body was not compatible with his soul. At this moment, only the person who had seized the first year of life could give him any hope of survival. Kill! The elders and disciples of the All-Spirits Palace rushed towards Gai Tianyuan. The Grand Extermination Formation was activated instantly, interweaving terrifying formation runes and divine light, trying to kill Gai Tianyuan. Grand Extermination Formation. Go to hell. Gai Tianyuan laughed coldly. He had passed through the 90,000 Chaos Trial and was a Formation Grandmaster. The Grand Extermination Formation might be terrifying to others, but it was not worth mentioning to Gai Tianyuan. Chapter 1166. Formation, Star Fall. Gai Tianyuan pointed out with his finger and conjured a series of mysterious runes. The grand extermination formation instantly reversed. The intertwined extermination divine light shot towards the crowd from the All-Spirits Palace. Ah! Blood rained down and limbs were severed. Under the chaos of the grand extermination formation, countless disciples and elders were killed. Thousands of people died under the extermination divine light. Kill! Suddenly, Yao Yueya and Venerable Sky Tyrant attacked again. Both of them attacked Gai Tianyuan at the same time, but the current Gai Tianyuan was too terrifying and could not be killed by the two of them. Bang bang! Gai Tianyuan's fighting strength erupted. Two fist radiance broke through the sky and blasted Venerable Sky Tyrant and Yao Yueya away. Their blood splattered everywhere. No! No! Don't kill me! Suddenly, a terrified shriek rang out. Gai Tianyuan's face changed drastically as well. He immediately turned around to look at the hall, but what happened next made him fly into a rage. Unimaginable killing intent radiated from him. Yi Xian, you brat! Gai Tianyuan roared in anger. In front of him, Yi Xian was strangling someone's throat. That person was the person he was looking for. Brother Yi, well done. Yao Yueya coughed up blood, but his face was filled with excitement. At this moment, Yi Xian was strangling the person's throat with a sarcastic smile on his face. He looked at Gai Tianyuan mockingly. Gai Tianyuan, it's not wrong to say that you're stupid. Right now, this body is in my hands. Do you believe that I can twist off his head and kick it like a ball? Yi Xian smiled viciously. How dare you? Gai Tianyuan roared, but his face was filled with fear. He was afraid that Yi Xian would destroy this person. I don't dare. Crack. Yi Xian smiled sinisterly as he exerted force with his 5 fingers. The neck of the person from the first year was twisted in an irregular manner, and his entire body was in pain as he begged for mercy in Yi Xian's hands. Stop! Stop! Gai Tianyuan roared, trembling. Even his aura had become extremely chaotic. Hee hee. Yi Xian lightly smiled as his 5 fingers suddenly loosened. In the end, he didn't break the neck of the person in his hand because this was his bargaining chip. If he really did kill him, then he himself would be in danger. Yi Xian, as long as you hand this person over to me, I, Gai Tianyuan, can swear a great heart demon oath that I won't make things difficult for you. The grudge between us can also be written off. Gai Tianyuan lowered his stance and viciously begged Yi Xian. Do you think I'll believe you? Yi Xian sneered. He didn't believe that Gai Tianyuan would let him go. Then what do you want? Gai Tianyuan asked sinisterly. If it weren't for the fact that he was afraid of breaking the vases, he would have chopped Yi Xian into pieces. But that wouldn't be enough to dispel the hatred in his heart. What do I want? Yi Xian tilted his head, as if he was deep in thought. After 10 breaths of time, Yi Xian smiled and looked at Gai Tianyuan. I'm afraid of death. I'm especially afraid of death. I'm afraid that after you, Gai Tianyuan, obtain this body, I, Yi Xian, will never have a day of peace. Don't worry. As long as you give this body to me, I can swear a chaos oath that I won't make things difficult for you. I can also agree to 3 of your conditions. Gai Tianyuan said hurriedly. 3 conditions? Yi Xian seemed to be considering Gai Tianyuan's conditions. Then, he nodded. Then let me think about these 3 conditions. As for the first one, time passed by bit. Gai Tianyuan was waiting anxiously. However, Yi Xian was still chatting with him, and didn't get to the point. Suddenly, Gai Tianyuan woke up. His aura turned extremely gloomy. Because he finally realized that something was wrong. Thief, how dare you lie to me? Gai Tianyuan roared in anger. He looked at Yi Xian with eyes filled with rage and killing intent. As it turned out, he had obtained the body of a great sage and burst forth with his nirvana cultivation base. This was extremely harmful to Gai Tianyuan's remnant soul. Yi Xian was just stalling for time. He wanted to cause problems for Gai Tianyuan's body. You're not that stupid, are you? Crack. Yi Xian smiled cruelly. In the next moment, he snapped the neck of the man of the first era. Then, with a slap, he turned the man's body into a bloody mist. Thief, I want you to die a horrible death. Gai Tianyuan had completely fallen into a berserk state. He rushed towards Yi Xian. Brother Demon, Venerable Sky Tyrant, he won't be able to maintain the Nirvana stage for much longer. Why aren't you guys making a move? Yi Xian quickly retreated and loudly roared at Yao Yu and Yao Yu. Without Yi Xian's reminder, the two of them had already rushed towards Gai Tianyuan. The elders surrounded Gai Tianyuan without fear of death. Obviously, they wanted to gather everyone's strength to kill Gai Tianyuan. Brother Yao, I'll take my leave first. You guys stop this person. If there's a chance in the future, you and I will have a drink together. Yi Xian turned and left without stopping. Yao Yue's expression changed slightly. He opened his mouth to say something, but he swallowed his words. After all, in his eyes, even if Yi Xian stayed, he wouldn't be of much help to them. Thief, don't run. Gai Tianyuan's hatred was higher than the sky. He madly chased after Yi Xian, but how could Yao Yue and Venerable Sky Tyrant let him go? Demon Moon in the sky. Yao Yue directly revealed his trump card. A blood moon rose behind him. His whole body swelled and a blood-red spiritual sword appeared in his hand. Slash. The sword slashed down and the blood moon filled the sky. This was Yao Yue's strongest killing technique. Although it couldn't really kill Gai Tianyuan, it could definitely keep him here. Sky Tyrant Fist. Venerable Sky Tyrant followed closely behind. After all, he was at the first level of creation realm. At this moment, he erupted with all his strength and directly shattered the void. He was extremely ferocious as he suppressed Gai Tianyuan. As the two of them attacked, the few remaining elders and disciples attacked together. This immediately caused Gai Tianyuan to fall into a chaotic siege. You damned dogs. Gai Tianyuan could clearly feel his remnant soul weakening. His nirvana realm cultivation was also fading. If this continued, he would really die at the hands of these people. All of you go to hell. Gai Tianyuan's nirvana realm divine light was released. It was unknown how many disciples and elders died in his hands. Venerable Sky Tyrant and Yao Yue also continuously retreated. However, Yao Yue could clearly feel that Gai Tianyuan's aura was weakening. As long as they could hold on, Gai Tianyuan would definitely die. On the other side, Yi Xian didn't escape from the 10,000 Spirit Heavenly Palace. At this moment, he had already appeared in the 10,000 Spirit Treasury. The Qiankuan pouch in his hand was like a black hole, crazily collecting all kinds of treasures in the treasury. You guys can slowly fight. It's best if both sides are injured. Ha ha ha. Yi Xian laughed excitedly. The speed at which he collected the treasures became faster and faster. In just a few breaths of time, the 10,000 spirit treasury was completely looted by him. Yi Xian, you're too bold. Suddenly, a heavy voice came from behind Yi Xian. This also caused Yi Xian's expression to change. He immediately turned to look at the person who came. Who else could it be but the Butian Pavilion Master? Chapter 1167. Yi Xian's face darkened as he said, I advise you not to meddle in other people's business. It is not too late for you to leave now. If Gai Tianyuan arrives, I'm afraid you will also die in his hands. Yi Xian, I advise you. Today, you used Yao Yuyi to deal with Gai Tianyuan and looted the 10,000 spirit treasury. When Yao Yuyi wakes up in the future, the 10,000 Spirit Heavenly Palace will definitely not let you go. Bu Tian Pavilion Master said seriously. In the struggle for the Great Tao, if you don't advance, you will fall behind. The strong will always be strong, and the weak will always be like dogs. If you want to survive in this chaotic world, you naturally have to use whatever means you can. Yi Xian said coldly. Yi Xian, I admit that I've underestimated you. Your scheming methods are indeed vicious and sinister, but by doing so, you're courting death. The old sect leader instructed me to protect your life. I just don't want you to die at the hands of the 10,000 Spirit Heavenly Palace. The Heaven-Mending Pavilion Master frowned. Die? Yi Xian murmured, then coldly looked at Bu Tian Pavilion Master and said, remember, no one can judge my life or death. Everything I do is to become stronger. On this path, I will always move forward courageously. Stubborn. Bu Tian Pavilion Master roared with hatred. Bu Tian Pavilion Master, I don't want to talk nonsense with you. This is the 9 clouds immortal Ganoderma that you gave to Sky Tyrant Venerable. I, Yi Xian, do not want to owe anyone a favor. Yi Xian directly threw the 9 clouds immortal Ganoderma to Bu Tian Pavilion Master, then without saying anything else, he left. Yi Xian had just taken 2 steps when he suddenly turned around to look at Bu Tian Pavilion Master and said, you should leave quickly. Gai Tianyuan has already gone crazy. If you get involved, I'm afraid you won't have the chance to leave even if you want to. Go back and tell your old sect leader that I, Yi Xian, don't need his protection. I'll walk my own path. As long as he can protect Lu Bai, that's enough. After Yi Xian finished speaking, he left in large strides. Yi Xian, leave with me. That guy Tianyuan is not someone the 10,000 Spirit Palace can handle. The Heaven-Mending Pavilion Master suddenly roared. You are wrong. From start to finish, I never thought that the 10,000 Spirits Palace would be able to kill Gai Tianyuan. They were only my chess pieces. The one who truly wanted to kill Gai Tianyuan was me. Yi Xian gradually walked further and further away, but his voice continued to echo in Pavilion Master Bu Tian's ears. This person, he. Looking at Yi Xian's departing figure, Bu Tian Pavilion Master's face was lifeless. He did not know what to feel, but he had a deep admiration for Yi Xian's style of doing things. They said that Yi Xian was ignorant and fearless, but he was extremely meticulous and dared to use the 10,000 Spirits Palace as a chess piece. They said that he was extremely daring, but everything he did was for the sake of strengthening himself. What a pity, what a pity. This child only has a mortal body. If he had some kind of battle constitution, then his future would be limitless. He would definitely have the qualifications to compete for the position of the strongest of all time in the next Yuan Hui. What a pity that he acted so crazily. He was simply seeking his own death. The Heaven-Mending Pavilion Master let out a long sigh and then walked back to the Heaven-Mending Pavilion. The current situation was already out of his control and was not something he could participate in. He would tell the old sect leader about today's matter. As for how the old sect leader would decide, that would depend on him. Bang bang bang. The heaven and earth exploded, leaving behind a scene of devastation. The entire 10,000 Spirits Palace turned into ruins. Corpses could be seen everywhere, and large amounts of blood dyed the ground red. The entire 10,000 Spirits Palace suffered heavy casualties. Puff. Venerable Sky Tyrant and Yao Yueya continuously retreated. Blood continuously spurted out from their mouths, and their auras were extremely weak. The difference between the 3 realms of creation and transformation was like heaven and earth. Even if the 2 of them joined forces with tens of thousands of Spirit Palace cultivators, it was simply impossible to block Gai Tianyuan's attack. Of course, Gai Tianyuan was not in a good state either. His remnant soul was originally not compatible with this body, and after being besieged by the 10,000 Spirits Palace, his body was also in an extremely weak state. Huff. 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 Guy Tianyuan constantly gasped for breath and roared with hatred, "You damn juniors, how dare you scheme against me! Today, I will definitely destroy your souls." Bang 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 bang. Guy Tianyuan walked step by step towards Yao Yueye and Venerable Sky Tyrant. His entire body emitted a terrifying killing intent, and behind him were floating corpses. Clearly, they were all killed by Guy Tianyuan. How can he still use his cultivation? Venerable Sky Tyrant was already heavily injured. He roared in horror, and his heart was in a mess. His eyes were filled with despair. Heavenly Origin Battle Body. That's because he has the Heavenly Origin Battle Body. Yao Yueye roared, his eyes filled with unwillingness. The biggest characteristic of the Heavenly Origin Battle Body was its ability to absorb the spiritual chi of heaven and earth. Whether it was healing injuries or cultivation, it had an unparalleled advantage. This was because Guy Tianyuan had not merged with a compatible body. If he had really found a compatible body, their souls would have been destroyed long ago. Spiritual son, are we really going to die here? Venerable Sky Tyrant asked in horror. Die? Of course you're going to die, because you no longer have any value. Suddenly, a heartless voice sounded out from afar. Yi Xian walked over with large strides with a calm expression. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of the three of them. Brother Yi, you. Yao Yueye's expression froze. He never thought that Yi Xian would actually return. Brother Demon, speaking of which, I really have to thank your 10,000 Spirit Palace. Without you guys fighting to the death with this old monster, it would have taken me quite a bit of effort to kill him. Yi Xian lightly smiled. He looked down at Yao Yueye, who was lying limp on the ground. You. Yao Yueye's expression changed, as if he felt that something was wrong. You've been to the Myriad Spirit Treasury? Venerable Sky Tyrant angrily scolded. The Qiankuan pouch hanging on Yi Xian's waist was a treasure from the Myriad Spirit Treasury. Yi Xian smiled, but his smile was very sinister. It was extremely sinister and cruel, giving people goosebumps. When you guys were fighting, I took all the treasures from the Myriad Spirit Treasury into my pouch. I was afraid that someone would take it, so I temporarily kept it for you. I don't think you mind, right? Yi Xian smiled at Yao Yueye. I don't mind. Why would I mind? These treasures are perfect for you. Yao Yueye forced a smile, but there was a flash of anger in his eyes. Yi Xian, how dare you? You actually dare to scheme against our 10,000 Spirit Palace? Do you believe me? Venerable Sky Tyrant was furious and scolded Yi Xian. He had always looked down on Yi Xian. Now that Yi Xian had plundered the Myriad Spirit Treasury, he was naturally furious. How can a dead man talk so much nonsense? Rumble. The space-time energy exploded. Yi Xian's face was sinister and sinister. Before Venerable Sky Tyrant could react, he slapped him on the head. Bang! Venerable Sky Tyrant didn't even have time to scream before he was slapped to death by Yi Xian. Venerable Sky Tyrant's death was too aggrieved. He was a dignified manifestation realm expert, but he ended up seriously injured after fighting with Guy Tianyuan. In the end, he didn't die in Guy Tianyuan's hands, but he died under Yi Xian's palm. He probably couldn't die in peace. Calamity Transcender Technique. Rumble. Yi Xian's entire body turned into a black vortex. The Calamity Transcender technique was directly activated. The pitiful Venerable Sky Tyrant directly turned into nourishment and was completely swallowed by Yi Xian. Chapter 1168. He was horrified and his scalp went numb. When he witnessed Yi Xian devouring Venerable Sky Tyrant, the shock it brought to Yao Yueye was simply unimaginable. Space-time power. Devouring power. Yao Yueye trembled as he spoke. His entire being was in a mess as he looked at Yi Xian with an extremely horrified expression. I understand everything now. Yao Yueye finally understood that Gai Tianyuan was not lying at all. He was indeed telling the truth. Not only did Yi Xian possess 3 supreme powers, but he also used them to fight Gai Tianyuan to the death. Needless to say, the inheritance of the Chaos Star Master was also in Yi Xian's hands. Unfortunately, it was too late for Yao Yueye to understand all of this. He was now seriously injured and his cultivation was mostly gone. Even if he knew the truth, what could he do to Yi Xian? Whoosh! Crackle! As the Calamity Immortal technique dissipated, Yi Xian's figure appeared once again. He spat out a stream of turbid air from his mouth. His face was slightly flushed and his body was slightly swaying. It was obvious that he had swallowed Venerable Sky Tyrant, causing the energy in his body to surge like a volcano. The creation realm is indeed the creation realm. It is indeed a great tonic. Yi Xian muttered cruelly. After devouring Venerable Sky Tyrant, the power in Yi Xian's body had reached a critical point, almost stepping into the Great Sage King realm. However, Yi Xian restrained this impulse. This was because Venerable Sky Tyrant's blood-soul essence chi still needed to be refined, and it was mixed with too much spiritual energy. If he chose to break through to the Great Sage King realm at this moment, it wouldn't be of any benefit to him. Brother Ye's divine ability is amazing. I misjudged you. Yao Yueye's expression changed unpredictably before he gradually calmed down. He even lowered his posture and complimented Yi Xian. Although Yao Yuyi wanted nothing more than to tear Yi Xian to pieces, with the enemy before them, it was not yet time for him to settle the score with Yi Xian. The only way was to get past Gai Tianyuan. At that time, he would naturally not let Yi Xian go. Brother Yao, what are you talking about? Without the help of your myriad spirit palace, I, Yi Xian, would not have been able to force this old man out. Yi Xian chuckled. Hearing Yi Xian's words, Yao Yueye was furious, but he still forced a smile. After all, he didn't dare to show any dissatisfaction towards Yi Xian. Shameless thief, look at what you've done. Gai Tianyuan was glaring fiercely at Yi Xian. He wanted nothing more than to grind Yi Xian's bones to dust. TSK TSK TSK. Yi Xian curled his lips and looked at Gai Tianyuan. A sinister smile appeared on his face. Gai Tianyuan, if I say you're stupid, you're really stupid. I destroyed 2 of your bodies and even stole your inheritance. Today, I even killed you. From the beginning to the end, you've been toyed with by me. Don't you think you're stupid to the extreme? Yi Xian sneered and mocked. I'll kill you. Gai Tianyuan's chest was about to explode. He was a mighty figure, yet he had been tricked by Yi Xian time and time again. Now, he was forced to possess the body of a great saint. Even his soul was at risk of dissipating. Kill me. Yi Xian grinned sinisterly. Let's see who's going to kill who today. Go to hell. Yi Xian roared. The power of nirvanic destruction slapped out, and the power of time and space instantly activated. When the 2 supreme powers were used at the same time, Yi Xian became even more ferocious and terrifying. Bang! The ancient sky was raised, and the mountains and rivers were crumbling. The 2 supreme powers brought with them the power to destroy all things to suppress Gai Tianyuan. Tianyuan Wuji. Gai Tianyuan roared to the sky. The power of Tianyuan erupted, and he also attacked Yi Xian. Bang! Puff! Like mountains and rivers collapsing, like the sky exploding, Gai Tianyuan spat out a mouthful of blood. His body cracked like a spider web, and he was sent flying backward like a kite with a broken string. Go to hell. Yi Xian didn't back down. He activated the power of time and space and instantly appeared in front of Gai Tianyuan. His fists violently smashed down. Bang! Yi Xian's fist pierced through the void and smashed into Gai Tianyuan's chest. His other fist smashed into the sky and mercilessly smashed into Gai Tianyuan's head. Wah! Gai Tianyuan was heavily injured. There was a bloody hole in his chest, and half of his head was smashed in. A large amount of blood splattered into the sky. Blood kept pouring out of his mouth. But it wasn't over yet. Yi Xian kicked Gai Tianyuan's head until it exploded. As he swung his fists, he mercilessly smashed them onto Gai Tianyuan's chest. Gai Tianyuan's body was instantly shattered, causing people to look at him to be in an extremely miserable state. Yi Xian. In the distance, Yao Yueye watched in horror. When he saw Yi Xian's battle prowess, he was extremely shocked. Only now did he understand that Yi Xian had lost to him in a spar. This was just to confuse him. Only now did Yi Xian reveal his true cultivation. Of course, although Yao Yueye was shocked by Yi Xian's cultivation, he wasn't afraid of Yi Xian. If it was a fair fight, Yi Xian wouldn't be his match at all. Yao Yueye had the Demon Moon battle body. Although it wasn't a mutated battle body, it was definitely not weak among the many battle bodies. Moreover, he was a Nine-Heaven Saint King. If it was a fair fight with Yi Xian, Yao Yueye was confident that he could defeat Yi Xian. Moreover, Yi Xian was able to completely crush Gai Tianyuan because he and Venerable Sky Tyrant had already fought with Gai Tianyuan to the death. Gai Tianyuan was already severely injured, and his cultivation had fallen to rock bottom. This gave Yi Xian an opportunity to take advantage of it. The result of both sides being injured was also an advantage for Yi Xian. This made Yao Yueye's mind turn rapidly. He wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to escape. When he recovered in the future, he would settle the score with Yi Xian. This was because Yao Yueye could already see that Gai Tianyuan would definitely die at the hands of Yi Xian, and Yi Xian would definitely not let him go after killing Gai Tianyuan. Die! Suddenly, an explosive shout came from Yi Xian's mouth. In the sky, Gai Tianyuan's body exploded into a bloody mist that filled the sky. Run! Yao Yueye's expression changed when he saw this scene. If he didn't escape now, he would probably be the next one to die. But before Yao Yueye could do anything, a strange scene appeared before his eyes. This made Yao Yueye stop abruptly. He didn't escape immediately. Boom! Heaven and earth shook as golden light covered the sky. Amidst the bloody mist that filled the sky, a golden phantom appeared, and an extremely terrifying fluctuation rippled out. Origin Source Soul. Yao Yueye roared in horror. He was stunned on the spot, as if he had thought of something extremely terrifying. Yi Xian. Above the sky, in the void. Gai Tianyuan's golden light shone brightly. His fighting strength surged violently. The golden light was as vast as the ocean, completely drowning the world. Yi Xian's expression abruptly changed as an extremely palpitating feeling appeared. The Nirvana battle armor was instantly summoned by him, and the heaven-punishing halberd also appeared in his hand. It was as if he was facing a great enemy. In this strange moment, Yi Xian only felt his saint soul trembling. An indescribable feeling of death was constantly eroding his mind. Chapter 1169. Tianyuan Limitless, 10,000 Laws Return to One. Even I didn't expect a little thief like you to force me to this step. Gai Tianyuan's imposing figure was boundless, but his overwhelming killing intent assaulted Yi Xian. Terrifying, extremely terrifying. At this moment, Gai Tianyuan's aura was comparable to Sect Master Butian's. It was a height that Yi Xian could never reach. There seemed to be a voice telling Yi Xian that at this moment, Gai Tianyuan was the legendary figure who could compete with the Lord of all Spirits. Gai Tianyuan only needed a flick of his finger to turn him into ashes. Since ancient times, I've ascended to the pinnacle. I didn't expect that I, Gai Tianyuan, would be forced to use my soul source by a junior. It's truly lamentable. Gai Tianyuan's grief filled the sky, and an indescribable unwillingness and sorrow filled the air. Soul Source, Pinnacle Strike. This. Yao Yeye's voice trembled, and his entire body was filled with fear. An ancient legend. When a person stepped into the immortal realm, they would be able to form their soul source. No matter how serious their injuries were, they would be able to use their soul source to launch the final attack of their life. This attack was also known as the Pinnacle Strike. The Pinnacle Strike would destroy both jade and stone. When this strike was launched, both the user and the enemy would perish. At this moment, Yi Xian's body and mind were trembling to the extreme, and a large amount of cold sweat appeared on his forehead. Facing Gai Tianyuan, who had used his soul source, Yi Xian was simply unable to resist. This guy really isn't simple. Yi Xian roared hatefully. He had never underestimated Gai Tianyuan. After all, Gai Tianyuan was known as a monstrous genius in the past, and was even able to compete with the Lord of all Spirits, who hadn't even become the strongest of all time. How could Gai Tianyuan be a simple character? Yi Xian felt that he had been very careful. It could be said that he had planned to kill Gai Tianyuan step by step, but in the end, he had still fallen into a dangerous situation. It wasn't that Yi Xian's evil plan had a problem, but that Gai Tianyuan's foundation was simply too terrifying. This also showed that in front of absolute strength, any schemes and tricks were pale and powerless. What to do? Was he going to die together with Gai Tianyuan? Yi Xian was sweating profusely. He was anxious because he could feel Gai Tianyuan's murderous intent. The other party would definitely not let him go. Did he really have to use his final trump card? Yi Xian's expression was terrifyingly gloomy. It wasn't that he didn't have a method to deal with Gai Tianyuan, and this method was considered a peerless killing weapon throughout the ages. It was just that he couldn't predict the consequences of this method, and could only use it in the face of a true life and death crisis. This technique was extremely terrifying. According to Yi Xian's guess, perhaps only the strongest of all eternity would be able to neutralize it. Some might ask, how could Yi Xian defend himself against Gai Tianyuan, who had ascended to his peak? In fact, Yi Xian really did have a peerless killing weapon, and this weapon was the River of Time. That's right, it was the River of Time. Don't forget that Yi Xian was able to move the River of Time. Moreover, the River of Time had a pair of ancient ferocious eyes. Even his future self was extremely fearful of these ancient ferocious eyes. This pair of ancient ominous eyes was Yi Xian's final trump card, and it was also his greatest killing weapon when he was facing death. Yi Xian was certain that as long as he could channel the River of Time, he would be able to draw out the mysterious existence within. A being that even his future self was apprehensive of could easily kill Gai Tianyuan. Not to mention a mere Gai Tianyuan, Yi Xian believed that even the strongest of all eternity might not be able to gain the upper hand against this mysterious existence. How could a mysterious existence that lived in the River of Time be ordinary? It might not be on the same level as the strongest of all eternity, but it shouldn't be too far off. However, Yi Xian really didn't want to use this trump card outside of certain death. If this mysterious existence was drawn out, then he wouldn't be able to predict what would happen next. Moreover, there was a great chance that he would die at the hands of this mysterious existence. However, right now, Yi Xian was also in a situation of certain death when facing Gai Tianyuan. His eyes gradually turned crazy, and the little tree of time and space had already appeared. Strands of time and space energy poured down, and he was already prepared to use his final trump card. After all, this would still allow him to find a chance to live. Brother Yi. Just as Yi Xian was about to channel the River of Time, a panicked voice came from behind him. Yao Yueya had appeared out of nowhere. The space-time tree paused slightly. Yi Xian's eyes moved and the River of Time that he was about to channel suddenly slowed down. He looked at Yao Yueya in confusion, not knowing what Yao Yueya wanted to do. Brother Yi, I have a way for you and me to escape from here. I just need Yi Xian to lend me a hand. Yao Yue's face was pale as he anxiously transmitted to Yi Xian through telepathy. Oh. Yi Xian's heavy expression suddenly froze before he hurriedly replied, what method do you have? Actually, Yao Yeye wished for nothing more than for Yi Xian to die without a burial ground. However, now that Gai Tianyuan had summoned his origin soul, it had already been sublimated to the extreme. If he wanted to unleash an extreme Dao attack, even Yao Yeye would die under this extreme Dao attack. Brother, you should know that my 10,000 spirit heavenly palace has 12 spirit sons, and I am the 9th spirit son. The Lord of all spirits once bestowed each of the 12 spirit sons with a major chaotic shift talisman. This major chaotic shift talisman can allow us to travel hundreds of millions of miles. It can definitely allow us to escape from here. However, to channel this talisman requires a vast amount of cultivation. With my current heavy injuries, I can't use it at all. Only the two of us can channel this talisman and escape with our lives. Yao Yueye quickly explained. To be honest, Yao Yueye wanted nothing more than for Yi Xian to die in Gai Tianyuan's hands. However, as he said, he was heavily injured and could not channel this talisman at all. Only by joining forces with Yi Xian could they escape with their lives. This was something he had no choice but to do. Okay. Yi Xian was overjoyed. He did not expect Yao Yueye to have such a trump card. This also meant that he did not need to take the risk to channel the river of time. At this moment, Yi Xian could not help but sigh. A disciple of a great sect was indeed a disciple of a great sect. The depth of their foundation was unimaginable, and their life-saving treasures made him extremely envious. Clearly, the 12 spirit sons of the 10,000 spirit heavenly palace were the strongest competitors in the next Yuanhui. Naturally, the 10,000 spirit heavenly palace was worried about their own safety. They even bestowed this major chaotic shift talisman to them as a life-saving treasure. Yi Xian, you shameless thief. Today, I will destroy your soul. On the other side, Gai Tianyuan coldly roared. He slowly raised his palm, and the world around him kept exploding. An extreme attack was brewing in his hand. Clearly, he wanted to kill Yi Xian right here and now. Do it! Yi Xian roared. Yao Yueye did not dare to delay and immediately sent out the major chaotic shift talisman. The two of them madly poured their cultivation into this divine talisman. Wang! The world turned upside down and everything was destroyed. The major chaotic shift talisman bestowed by the Lord of 10,000 spirits was indeed terrifying. The light of 10,000 spirits instantly covered the two of them, and they directly turned into a beam of light and disappeared from this world. Chapter 1170. Great Primal Chaos Shift Talisman. Gai Tianyuan roared angrily. His killing intent exploded. He regretted forgetting about Yao Yueye. Yao Yueye was the spiritual son of the 10,000 spirit heavenly palace. Naturally, he had something to save his life. Damn it! You two damned ants! You won't be able to escape. Gai Tianyuan roared again and again. He was extremely terrifying after summoning his source soul. He instantly chased after the great primal chaos shift talisman. His speed broke through the barrier of space. Whoosh! The space collapsed and the void shuttled. Millions of miles of clouds turned into water vapor. Under the cover of the great primal chaos shift talisman, Yi Xian and Yao Yueye were running for their lives. Their speed was simply unimaginable. Not good. Gai Tianyuan is catching up. Yao Yueye screamed in horror. He looked back from time to time. Sure enough, Gai Tianyuan was quickly approaching them. At this rate, it wouldn't take long for him to stop them. Damn it! You damn transvestite! Didn't you say the great primal chaos shift talisman could help us escape this calamity? Yi Xian cursed. Idiot. The Great Primal Chaos Shift Talisman can only transport one person. Now that it's carrying both of us, its speed will naturally be slower. Moreover, Gai Tianyuan has summoned his source soul. With his cultivation, he can naturally catch up to us. I didn't expect this to happen. Yao Yueya screamed in horror. So that's how it is. Hearing Yao Yueya's words, Yi Xian immediately understood. However, what he did next made Yao Yueya want nothing more than to grind Yi Xian's bones to dust. Brother Yao, thank you for the Great Primal Chaos Shift Talisman. However, as you said, it can only transport one person. I can only let you suffer a little. Yi Xian's expression was vicious. He kicked Yao Yueya away. Yao Yueya couldn't react in time and directly appeared outside the Great Primal Chaos Shift Talisman. Yi Xian, you despicable person. Yao Yueya stomped and cursed. However, the Great Primal Chaos Shift Talisman had already brought Yi Xian away. Its speed had indeed increased by a level. Die, you little bastard. It was also at this moment that Gai Tianyuan suddenly attacked. This caused Yao Yueya to scream in horror. Her hatred for Yi Xian had reached its peak. Lotus roots broken and silk connected, chasing the stars and chasing the moon. Jiulingzi was indeed the Jiulingzi. As the Jiulingzi of the 10,000 Spirit Heavenly Palace, Yao Yueya had more than one method to save his life. He formed a seal with both hands and unleashed a mysterious technique. A mysterious thread appeared and instantly pulled him towards Yi Xian. On the other side. Under the cover of the Grand Primal Chaos Teleportation Talisman, Yi Xian was fleeing for his life, and his speed was simply unimaginable. However, in less than 3 breaths of time, the Great Primal Chaos Teleportation Talisman suddenly slowed down. Behind him, Yao Yueya's angry roars could be heard. Yi Xian, you despicable person. As long as I, Yao Yi, do not die today, I will definitely take your dog life. Yi Xian quickly turned his head, and his expression suddenly changed. He saw a mysterious thread appear behind the Great Primal Chaos Teleportation Talisman, pulling Yao Yueya along with it. Obviously, this was a guiding technique, and it was a secret technique used in conjunction with the Great Primal Chaos Teleportation Talisman. This thread was connected to the Great Primal Chaos Teleportation Talisman. No matter where the Great Primal Chaos Teleportation Talisman went, Yao Yueya would follow closely behind. This damn transvestite indeed has a way to save his life. Yi Xian angrily cursed. He took out the heaven-destroying halberd and slashed at the mysterious thread. This scene also made Yao Yueya angry, and all kinds of vulgar words could be heard. Can't cut it. Yi Xian used the heaven-destroying halberd to slash at the mysterious thread, but it was as if he was slashing through the air. Obviously, this mysterious thread was not a real thing, but a secret technique that he did not know about. Yi Xian, I want you dead. Suddenly, Gai Tianyuan chased up once more. That angry roar shook the heavens, and this caused Yi Xian's expression to change slightly. Turning his eyes, he pulled Yao Yueya back into the Great Primal Chaos Teleportation Talisman. Huff. 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 Yao Yueya was panting heavily. His eyes were bloodshot as he looked at Yi Xian with rage. If not for the fact that the two of them were running for their lives, he would definitely fight to the death with Yi Xian. Brother Yao, it's all my fault. I was bewitched just now. Brother, please don't take it to heart. Now that we're in the same boat, let's hurry up and think of a way to get rid of Gai Tianyuan. Yi Xian was extremely hypocritical as he bowed down towards Yao Yueya. However, there was no trace of guilt on his face, as if he was not the one who had kicked Yao Yueya out of the Great Primal Chaos Teleportation Talisman. You're despicable, you. Looking at Yi Xian's shameless face, Yao Yueya's heart was about to explode. He could not wait to skin Yi Xian alive. He was almost killed by Yi Xian just now, and this guy was still licking his face and asking him to think of a way. However, Yao Yueye knew that now was not the time to settle scores with Yi Xian. Gai Tianyuan was closing in on them from behind. If they could not think of a way now, both of them would die in the hands of Gai Tianyuan. However, Yao Yueye was still cautious. He could tell that Yi Xian was a person who was vicious and vicious. If he was not careful, he would definitely be killed by him. There's still a way. Yao Yueye said quickly. Hurry up and say it. What way? Yi Xian asked quickly. The starry sky skiff. Yao Yueye said quickly, this starry sky skiff was given to me by my master. It is made from 3,000 stars. However, only Nirvana stage martial artists can use it. But if we work together, we might be able to use 50% of its power. Coupled with the Great Chaos Shift Talisman, we will definitely be able to escape this calamity. Then what are we waiting for? Hurry up and take it out. Yi Xian urged quickly. Yao Yueye did not say anything else and brought out the starry sky skiff. It was shaped like a bamboo raft, but it was filled with the power of starlight, giving off a feeling of incomparable beauty. Do it! Yao Yueye roared and sent out a blood moon imprint at the starry sky skiff. At the same time, Yi Xian poured his cultivation base into the starry sky skiff. Rumble! The starry sky skiff shone brightly and completely fused with the Great Chaos Shift Talisman. But at the same time, Yi Xian sent out a kick towards Yao Yueye. Clearly, he wanted to kick him out of this place once more. Shameless bastard. As expected, you don't have any good intentions. As the saying goes, a fall into the pit, a gain in your wit. Yao Yueye had suffered a great loss earlier. Naturally, he would be on guard for the second time. Thus, he was able to dodge Yi Xian's kick in an instant. Yi Xian, you fell for it. Yao Yueye laughed wildly in excitement. Both his hands formed a seal to send out a mysterious blood moon rune. Next, his entire being fused with the starry sky skiff. Next, a beam of starlight burst out from the starry sky skiff to smash down on Yi Xian. Yi Xian was scheming against Yao Yueye, but was Yao Yueye not scheming against Yi Xian as well? Bang! Yi Xian hastily blocked the attack. Although he did not suffer any damage, the beam of starlight had sent him flying. If he were to leave the starry sky skiff, Yi Xian would likely fall into Gai Tianyuan's hands. Then, neither of you can live. Yi Xian was incapable of stopping himself from being sent flying. Seeing that, he roared out madly and a power of nirvanic extermination shot towards the starry sky skiff. The starry sky skiff and the Great Chaos Shift Talisman were instantly shattered and the two of them fell out. Next, Gai Tianyuan charged forward and an extremely terrifying killing intent locked onto the two of them. Chapter 1171. Ha ha ha. Heaven and earth shook as he laughed wildly. Gai Tianyuan had personally witnessed the internal strife between the two falling out of the starry sky boat. This simply made him wild with joy, and at this moment, he was laughing loudly. Two ignorant brats, you're courting death. Gai Tianyuan's killing intent was biting cold as he shouted loudly. He looked at the two as if he was looking at dead people. Yi Xian, you idiot. Yao Yueye cursed angrily, wishing he could grind Yi Xian's bones to dust. However, facing Gai Tianyuan's killing intent, he could only think of a way to escape this calamity. Trash. Yi Xian's face was as gloomy as water, and there was a heavy look in his eyes. To be honest, the internal strife between the two was not what Yi Xian wanted. Him attacking Yao Yueye was also part of his plan. This was because Yi Xian was very clear that even if he did not attack Yao Yueye first, Yao Yueye would definitely scheme against him. Yi Xian was not a person who would sit and wait for death. He believed in the principle of striking first to gain the upper hand. However, What Yi Xian did not expect was that Yao Yueye was after all the ninth spirit son of the 10,000 spirit heavenly palace. His life-saving methods were not something he could imagine, and in the end, the two of them were in danger again. Brother Yao, what should we do? Yi Xian secretly transmitted his voice. Because he only had the river of time left, he did not want to use it. Yao Yueye had many methods, and perhaps he still had some life-saving methods. Despicable person, don't call me brother. Yao Yueye angrily rebuked. He finally understood Yi Xian's face. This person was too black-bellied and sinister, and he did not recognize him at all. Yao Yueye admitted that he was hypocritical enough. He was very low-key among the 12 spirit sons, but he secretly targeted the other spirit sons. However, ever since he met Yi Xian, Yao Yueye realized that he was still a far cry from Yi Xian because he wasn't as despicable and shameless as Yi Xian. Brother Yao, now is not the time for us to have internal strife. If you don't think of a way, we will really die in the hands of this old man. You don't want to die either, right? Yi Xian quickly transmitted a voice transmission. Humph, Yao Yueye coldly harumphed and calmed down. It was just as Yi Xian had said, the two of them had to work together to increase their chances of escaping. I also have a blood moon art. This blood moon art is a curse art. It is extremely effective against the soul. Even if Gai Tianyuan takes out his origin soul, it will still affect him. You and I can take advantage of this opportunity to escape. However, this technique consumes a lot of essence blood, so we need to share the burden. Otherwise, I will definitely not use this technique. Yao Yueye quickly said. Alright. Yi Xian quickly agreed. However, he was still on guard against Yao Yueye. After all, this guy hated him to death. If there was a chance, he would definitely not let him go. You two brats, go to hell. Rumble. Gai Tianyuan roared again and again. He was already preparing his extreme Dao attack. The heaven and earth exploded as that terrifying extreme Dao light pierced through the Tongtian, causing the surrounding land to sink. Do it. Yi Xian loudly roared as he spat out a mouthful of essence blood. Yao Yueye also moved at this moment. He formed a seal with both of his hands and chanted something. A bewitching blood moon emerged from his chest. Blood curse. Roar. Ghosts wailed and gods howled as the world trembled. Yi Xian and Yao Yueye spat out a large amount of essence blood, causing the blood moon to shine brightly. A mysterious and ancient qi spread out and attacked Gai Tianyuan. Curse art. Gai Tianyuan roared in shock. However, his face did not reveal any surprise. Instead, it revealed an extremely sinister smile. Something's not right. When Yi Xian saw the smile on Gai Tianyuan's face, he suddenly felt a chill in his heart. He felt that something must have gone wrong. Brother Yi, you can accompany him in death. I'll take my leave first. Suddenly, Yao Yueye turned into a streak of bloodlight and shot into the distance. He didn't even look back as he left. The blood moon technique that the two of them had unleashed together had actually strangely covered Yi Xian and Gai Tianyuan within it. You damn transvestite. Yi Xian instantly realized that something was wrong. Yao Yueye did not want to cooperate with him at all. Instead, he wanted him and Gai Tianyuan to die together. Yi Xian, you shameless thief. Today is the day you die. Gai Tianyuan laughed maniacally. So what if Yao Yueye escaped? At this moment, Gai Tianyuan only wanted to kill Yi Xian. He had no other thoughts. Run. The space-time ability was activated, but Yi Xian suddenly found that he could not move his body. This was simply too horrifying. It's useless. That brat used the blood moon curse. This curse was cast on you. You can't even move your body right now. Gai Tianyuan laughed maniacally. Damn it. Yi Xian roared sinisterly. He had been hunting geese all day and even had his eyes pecked by them. This Yao Yi obviously knew that Gai Tianyuan hated Yi Xian the most, so he cursed Yi Xian and naturally escaped. Yao Yueye believed that Gai Tianyuan would not abandon Yi Xian and chase after him. This was indeed a foolproof plan. Die. The extreme Dao attack had been brewing for a long time. This represented Gai Tianyuan's overwhelming killing intent. The resplendent light pierced through the sky and was about to crush Yi Xian in the next moment. At this critical moment, Yi Xian's expression became crazed. The space-time tree swayed as he prepared to summon the river of time to take Gai Tianyuan down with him. Suddenly, before Yi Xian could summon the river of time, an ear-piercing scream of pain rang out. Ah! The extreme Dao attack collapsed. Gai Tianyuan's soul essence dimmed. The originally resplendent soul gradually cracked, as if it would explode at any moment. Oh! This scene made Yi Xian give up on summoning the river of time. He stared blankly at Gai Tianyuan. It took him a full 3 breaths of time to recover. His face was filled with ecstasy. Ha ha ha! Yi Xian laughed wildly. He laughed so hard that he almost couldn't breathe. He looked at Gai Tianyuan as if he was looking at a dead man. Gai Tianyuan, you idiot! Let's see who will die today. Yi Xian snarled sinisterly. His eyes were filled with terrifying killing intent. It turned out that Gai Tianyuan had fought Yi Xian and Venerable Sky Tyrant to the point where both sides were injured. Later on, he risked his life and sacrificed his soul essence to kill Yi Xian. Unfortunately, after traveling for millions of miles, Gai Tianyuan's soul essence gradually weakened. Finally, when he was about to unleash his extreme Dao attack, it reached the breaking point and caused him to suffer a great calamity. Bang! The Blood Moon Curse had a certain time limit. Yi Xian just happened to break free at this moment and could move again. Gai Tianyuan, go to hell. Yi Xian definitely wouldn't let go of such a good opportunity. He also wouldn't waste so much time talking nonsense before killing. He instantly charged at Gai Tianyuan, wanting to destroy his soul as soon as possible. Yi Xian, you little thief, even if I die, I'll drag you down with me. Gai Tianyuan roared. His soul essence instantly exploded, but it condensed into a golden light that attacked Yi Xian. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.